Welcome to Profiles in Eccentricity, a show about weirdos. With your hosts, John Fahey, Aaron Peter, and Matt Brousseau.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Profiles in Eccentricity. It's a show about weirdos, doggone it. My name is John Boy. It is John Boy time. I am your host, John Francis Fahey. Joining me as ever, I'm here with my boys. Joining me as ever is the composer Hans Rimmer, Aaron Joseph Pita.
Hello.
You guys at home that can't see, even if you're not watching on YouTube. This is Aaron is wearing aviator glasses and the hoodie.
This is my Unabomber chic.
Yeah, in tribute to the awful murderer.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it looks great. You look great.
I'm hot. I'm taking it off as soon as we
Honestly,
do the intros.
I like it better when you do it than when he does it.
When I murder people?
No.
When I send packages through the mail?
Yeah.
I got your package right here, pal.
To your right, my left, Darth Gaul.
Okay.
All right. Did you just think of that right now?
That was hot off. Was hot off the presses.
Yeah, that's what the pause meant.
I did that strictly for the thumbnail.
Yeah.
It's too hot.
It's too hot. You got to take that off.
It is too hot.
You can wear the sunglasses if you want.
I'm not fucking.
I mean, it's 74 degrees in this room, but
Matt Brousseau, how are you?
I'm good.
Never finished your intro. Fellas.
Hey.
You're here. We're going to do part 2 of the Unabomber. Very excited about that, Aaron.
I'm excited.
Up top, I wanted to say a preemptive happy birthday to our beloved Jessie Lynn Latchett.
Hey.
Happy birthday.
23rd will be coming back from Joshua Tree. But
Happy birthday.
But happy birthday, Jessie. To our Patreon subscribers, she sends out all your shit, so love her and worship her.
Mm-hmm.
And she sent me a picture last night of her and Wilson filling the orders.
Yeah.
Of the buttons and stickers and stuff. It was really sweet.
Fill 'em.
Yeah. Yeah, we love you, Jessie. And she wanted me to say they're doing a sale on our shirts.
Ooh.
Hard Pipe Hitters Union. Freak at the Teak.
Oh.
The Ramones logo. Piss, it's number 1.
It is.
Search Profiles in Eccentricity on Etsy. They are $15. I don't know if that's with shipping or without. I probably should know that.
You get the Unabomber discount.
But yeah, they are on sale. So if you want some really dumb merch and you want to support the PP Boys, it goes straight to us. But they pack it up and send it out. So again, love to Graveyard Shift Screen Printing Company, our best friends.
Not best fiends.
No.
Not the.
No.
No. Fuck
I
them.
remember that.
Yeah, remember we were doing that all the time?
I heard some new ads for that recently on the show.
God.
Yeah, that's
Still-
not going away. It's probably a CIA program.
Yeah.
Almost definitely. But play it. You know, you can do it alone if you're not online.
Yeah, you can.
I got the whole fucking...
Your battery could be dead in your phone, and
Yeah,
you can play
still
it.
play
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
amazing.
It's amazing. It just works no matter what.
Yeah, it'll tell you what you're eating for dinner. If you
Yeah.
tell you
Sometimes
what you ate yesterday.
sometimes my best fiends wake me up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, play with me.
They shine a bright light in my face and interrogate me for hours.
God.
I think that's all we got. Patreon, by the way, $5 a month, extra episode a week if you love the PP Boys.
Which you do.
Join us.
Won't you?
And we're Profiles in Eccentricity on Instagram. We are PP Podcast on Twitter. And Aaron, you want to light this candle?
I'll fucking light the fuse on this package delivered to me with return to sender that I didn't send.
The fuck?
Huh?
So let's do a brief recap or where we left off from last time.
Okay, Ted Kaczynski, should we just do a quick recap of the whole thing, or just where?
Yeah, I mean, you know,
he was born, and then he got the hives really fast as a newborn, and so they fucking kept him away from his family for a number of days with no human contact, and that seemed to have fucked him up a bit. was antisocial. Anytime people would come over to the house, he would run away and hide in the attic. But slowly but surely, he kind of acclimated, became slightly more normal. But genius.
Genius, and then his parents are also pushing the academic stuff.
Especially his father.
Yeah.
Skipped a couple of grades. Went to Harvard on a scholarship at 16. Graduated with a master's and PhD when he was like 20 in mathematics.
Went through the CIA program.
It was a part of a CIA-funded experiment, unbeknownst to him.
He thought he was getting involved with the debate thing. It turns out they just berated him for days on end.
Yeah. We're testing the limits of human ability to withstand interrogation and humiliation. That probably didn't help with who he became. Then we went to teach at Michigan, University of Michigan, and then he went to teach at Berkeley.
Never got laid.
Never got laid. Was on his way to becoming, a great, wonderful, tenured professor. He wasn't very good with students, but he was maybe one of the smartest 10 people in the world as far as mathematics went.
Well, he said there was in the one paper he wrote, there was maybe 12 people in the country that could understand it. And IQ, I think
167 when he was, I think, in his before he was a teenager. I mean, your IQ basically stays static for the most part.
Well, I've gotten dumber.
Well, yeah, that's why you're special.
Yeah. Well, we all had COVID.
Yeah. My penis doesn't work either.
Yeah.
That's my excuse.
Mine works,
COVID twice.
Mine works better.
Yours works for me. You better work.
167 IQ on the likes of Bobby Fischer,
Einstein,
Kubrick.
You say Kubert?
Yeah, Kubert.
I thought you said Kubrick.
I did say Kubrick.
Oh, I didn't know he had that.
Kubrick had a very high.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he left it all behind, moved to the woods in Montana.
Yeah. Supposed to be kind of a thing with his brother, but he pushed his brother out.
He and his brother bought a plot of land in Lincoln, Montana, in the middle of fucking nowhere. His brother said, "Hey, let's do this thing together," because they very much shared like the let's kind of get away from the hustle and bustle.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Nah, this is mine, dude."
Yeah.
But also then his brother got Texas land, and he was doing primitive
living off the he had to ironically live 3,000 miles away from his brother
to do something together with him.
Yeah. And so they were pen pals for many years.
Yeah.
And when we last. Then he became a kind of an ecological terrorist, as it were, aggressive activist. He would sabotage logging equipment,
string up wire
to stop motorcycles.
Yeah. Kill dogs.
We didn't get to that part yet.
Oh, I thought
we mentioned it, but we didn't get to it yet.
Oh, okay.
He would do that when he was on hiatus from bombing people.
Oh, okay. Well,
so his first
bomb, I think, is the last thing we covered.
The last thing we covered was, he went back home, to visit his family, but to drop off his first bomb. And he was basically and you get to this later in his manifesto. He was convinced that technological process or progress is responsible for, and would ultimately be the downfall of human freedoms, life, existence, etc., and that we were on a path to destruction. And he went back home under the guise of visiting his family, but he really went back to drop a package off to one Mr. Christ, Buckley Christ, a mechanical engineering professor at Northwestern University. He was teaching people how to make students how to make medical devices and stuff like that. It was that was his first bomb. Didn't kill anybody. Guy was fucked up for a minute, but he was fine. The guy, he saw the package. It was labeled "Return to Sender," and he didn't send anything out.
Yeah,
and so he called campus security. Campus security got it, opened it. Terry Marker was the security guard. It exploded, but it just left him a minor wound on his hand. Now, before I go on, I'd like to just read some inspirational quotes.
Okay.
If I may.
Yeah, there's something I want to tackle too when you're done with that.
I'm not going to say who they're from, but yes. Never lose hope. Be persistent and stubborn and never give up.
Okay.
There are many instances in history where apparent losers suddenly turn out to be winners unexpectedly, so you should never conclude all hope is lost. Pretty good.
Nice.
Imagine a society that subjects people to conditions that make them terribly unhappy, then gives them the drugs to take away their unhappiness. Science fiction? It is already happening to some extent in our own society. Instead of removing the conditions that make people depressed, modern society gives them antidepressant drugs. In effect, antidepressants are a means of modifying an individual's internal state in such a way as to enable him to tolerate social conditions that he would otherwise find intolerable.
Mm.
All right.
That's nice. I don't know if it's inspirational.
First one was very...
yeah, the first one, yeah.
Maybe the second one has some merit.
Oh, definitely has merit.
Our lives depend on whether safety standards at a nuclear power plant are properly maintained, on how much pesticide is allowed to get into our food or how much pollution into our air, or how skillful or incompetent our doctor is. Whether we lose or get a job may depend on decision made by government economists or corporate executives and so forth. Most individuals are not in a position to secure themselves against these threats to more than a very limited extent.
Mm.
Okay.
Probably not Thomas Jefferson.
No. Well, they didn't have nuclear
That's
power.
what I'm saying.
They had slaves.
I'm putting the, you know.
So you're saying Matt's right?
Yeah, you're right. It's not. And then we'll get to some other ones. But the point is, he's
got some takes.
He's got some takes.
He's got some takes. They call him Teddy Takes.
Hot Takes by Ted K.
If you're just joining us, this is Ted Takes.
To blow your mind.
So
the TED Talks. I did the original TED Talk. This is a manifesto.
He would later say about why he started doing what he was doing. What first motivated me wasn't anything that I read. I just got mad seeing the machines ripping up the woods.
Yeah.
That, and I would go out for revenge.
Right.
Here's the thing about that. He bought the land from a logging company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like that family. And then he's like, and then he decided to be annoyed by it.
Pristine land.
It's like
trees removed for
like,
your pleasure.
Dude, what the fuck, man? Like, you know, it's going down. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. And later stuff would go on where his tranquility would be totally interrupted.
yeah.
And that's what really set him off.
No.
So.
But he also, it should be noted, like you said, tiny cabin.
Oh, yeah.
Very
tiny. Cabin.
No running water, no electricity.
Hole in the floor to shit.
Yeah. It would later be basically the same size as his solitary confinement cell.
Yeah.
Almost exactly.
Yeah. And I think it really was just a hole in the floor, right, that he shit through.
Well, he probably went outside. I don't know. Maybe there was a pee-pee hole and the poo-poo outside.
Oh, yeah. It was probably like a kind of like chutes and ladders situation.
Shits and ladders.
Shits and ladders. Very good.
Glory hole. And yeah.
Oh, yeah, there was a glory hole.
Yeah. Big old grizzly hole.
And then he knew. And then when somebody showed up, he was like, I'm out of here. Too many people. So, in 79, so his first bomb was 78, right?
Mm-hmm.
In 79, he's back in the.
I just want.
Please, this is a tag team, so fucking chime in, bro.
So, what year is he going? Is he home and at the factory? Because did we tackle that?
Yes, you
we
mentioned
talked about him. He went home and then he worked.
Is that pre-first bomb?
Yes.
That's pre-Montana, right?
No. I think he actually was. I think he already had started doing Montana living, and he briefly came home for some reason.
Oh,
and then
he worked at the foam factory.
Yeah, and his brother was a supervisor.
Yeah,
and then he had a crush on another boss.
Yeah,
and then
he took her out on his one date ever.
Yeah, I think they might have had two.
That was in 69.
Oh, okay, yeah. So he But yeah, like I don't know. I feel like we didn't get into.
We did, yeah, he worked at.
Because
he's a math genius with multiple degrees, former professor working at a foam factory with his brother.
Right.
Yeah.
And he has his one date with this woman, I believe Susan was her name. And it doesn't go well.
She was just bored by him.
Yeah.
But he like had this like very earnest crush on her. And the only person I ever heard about this happening with was some waitress out in Montana way, where like he left some note. He's like horribly shy.
Yes.
But there's high notes of incel in what's going to happen here, because I think after like maybe their second date they like picked apples and then they made a pie with or something like
Wow, that sounds like a great time.
But she was like bored to tears, and then she's like, "Yo, we shouldn't see each other socially anymore." And then
what does he do, John?
One of the things I heard was that he sat in her car and wanted to kill her.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, who hasn't?
And then he thought that it would be too intimate
to kill her.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes sense with the bomb MO.
Yeah. And the no sex.
Yeah. But yeah, and then he started doing these like really mean-spirited limericks.
He wrote some nasty limericks about her.
And he was placing them around the factory.
Yikes.
Where she works, and
they're all like, it's all in geometry. Like, who else could do this?
It takes a beautiful mind.
Yeah.
Is this
there once was a woman from China, like
is this the janitor?
It's that he was doing limericks, like
yeah.
I don't think like but he gets reprimanded by his brother, and then he keeps doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then his brother has to fire him. Like his brother's real pissed off, and Ted is like equally incensed. Like, I know you of all people, I never thought, well, whatever. And he, I think it was then at that point when maybe he sat in the car and then he was like, gonna hit. And then, but I think instead he did something else. Like, and this is another thing where I was like, fuck, because. Glancing the story, I'm like, oh yeah, a lot of shit he said is a lot of things like it's not extreme anymore,
Right.
But then you see he has like this very Inselly behavior, and he plays with doo-doo too much,
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, he like I think he ended up like leaving like shit in her car instead of like killing her or whatever. And then the same thing out in the cabin. He had a thing like dogs would come through, and before he was killing them, he would like rub his shit through their coats.
Yeah.
And then
send them back home.
And then they would come home, and the owners would be like, "What the fucking dog is covered in shit?" And then they were like, "I don't know how they knew it was human shit."
It just smells like fucking baked beans and
they probably tasted it.
Yeah. Well, how else would you know?
Human shit,
gunpowder, and
yeah.
Bumblebee
tuna.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But I needed to get that.
No, you
part
gotta
out.
get it out because
Yeah.
if he went left if he went left at one point of his life when he went right, it could have went another way.
Yeah.
Right.
Life hack, you gotta get laid.
You do.
Just to try it out.
It helps.
It does help because it is.
Well,
it feels pretty good.
Well, I guess
Usually
also though
it feels good, but it is but there's such a minority that they
don't become incels, I suppose.
No, they're also
asexuals,
yeah, and they just don't have those things. But it is as close to a person as you can get, other than growing one in your body,
right?
And it's a connection with the rest of the human race.
Yes,
and you value life.
Yes,
I mean not everybody that has sex values human life, but it helps.
Mm-hmm. Like I think. There's a thing there too though where like guys like him that already feel like weirdos, and we kind of talked about this first episode. His parents felt like weirdos, and
he was already alienated as a kid because he was smarter than everybody.
And they were like already a weirdo family, and they were trying to assimilate. And then he had his own weird shit, and then it got weirder and weirder when he kept advancing academically younger and younger, and he was always out of place.
Yeah,
and then it becomes a thing where you're so alone with your loneliness that then you get the greater fantasies about the companionship,
Right.
and then when it's rebutted, then you go
Resentful.
you go deeper into the rumination on it.
And when you're alone in the woods, all you do is ruminate.
Yeah,
Right.
and you're reliving like these, what you feel is like a huge humiliation or whatever. And you're thinking that like they think about it all the time when
Right.
they just go on living their lives.
Yeah, it's
You know
the
what I mean?
projection of your own emotions onto other people.
Yeah, it's like a thing where it's like, dude, just
She went into the fucking quadratic equation from the Pythagorean theorem. Dude, fucking bitch.
yeah, it's just a thing where it's like, dude, just go ask out another girl, man. Like, try
And
again.
stop rubbing shit on dogs.
Yeah,
You know the benefit of living in a urban area is
What's that?
hookers.
yeah, good call, Aaron.
Go get a prostitute.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Try it out.
Yeah.
Don't hurt them, please.
No.
Oh God.
No, don't.
Don't rub shit in their hair
No.
unless you pay extra.
Yeah, and also
you agree upon
learn how to talk to women.
Yeah,
without-
I mean, a lot. Yeah, because a
also, I
lot
guess,
of
sex workers
escorts
can
will
help with
say
that.
they'll say like half of the time these guys just want to talk.
Yeah.
And it's good.
Yeah.
So the next so from 78, he bombs that security guard, fucks up his hand. Go to 79. He bombs there's a cigar box left outside an office of John Harris,
Mm-hmm.
who is a graduate student working at Northwestern University.
Okay.
And he sees the cigar box. He's like, oh, man, I could use this for some pencils and stuff.
Yeah. They're great.
Could put my weed in here.
Yeah, it's great for that.
It's good for coke, too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You can put all kinds of things in there.
79, man. And he opened it up. Turned out that it was a bomb, and it didn't explode. It had a detonator that went off, and there was a flash, but nothing blew up.
Oof.
It was a dud. So the guy who hates technology,
Well, you can see why he hates it so much.
it never works.
Yeah,
He really struggles with it. Yeah.
My phone won't charge.
Ah. So then,
But he's a genius. Like, it's kind of amazing how many failures he has.
right, but he was a mathematical genius, and he probably read some books on, like, chemistry.
Yeah.
I mean,
The
and he's also working from a shed in the woods by candlelight.
Yes, and I will also
And
say
he also took very special care.
that's what I was just gonna say. Everything. When the Postal Service was investigating these first few things, they called him the junkyard bomber because the ingredients found were just like he would just go around like from the trash.
Yeah.
and he would get all this old shit, and it would be stuff that's like it. This wire is like from a company that went out of business years ago. It's because it's from people's actual junk.
Right.
And so it was, the care taken to be like, no way to trace it back, except, he never left, fingerprints, hairs, like that sort of shit.
But he would leave eventually.
He left a bunch of hairs later one time to kind of throw people off.
Yeah, and he would put
Like a bunch you found like in the airport or something.
right,
like,
or he'd put wood in. He had some of the bombs wouldn't have the correct explosive potential because he would put like wood end caps on like a pipe bomb, and the wood could not contain the pressure enough to cause shrapnel. Just like the wood would blow off.
Yeah.
So it just blow out the ends.
The other thing that was a giveaway, that it was this kind of a guy, was that he was actually making the glue from hooves, and they knew it was from like deer and not horses, which is the regular glue comes from. So they were like, oh yeah, it's probably some kind of an outdoorsman that actually hunts,
Right.
and stuff like that. And that was one of the giveaways that was like, okay,
Yeah, and then there's a pile of dog hair covered in shit, and they're like, we can
we can eat this.
let's test it first.
It's human.
Yeah.
Let's eat it.
So the next one, the next one was the same year, I believe, and he got a parcel. He snuck on that managed to get on American Airlines Flight 444.
Yeah, and this was the one that maybe put him.
It was the one that got the feds involved.
Yeah. You individual people.
Who cares?
Right. The airline.
So he gets it onto. It's from Chicago to DC. So it's now the third Chicago area one, right? And it was a bomb that was designed to explode inside the cargo hold mid-flight.
It was an altimeter.
It had an altimeter on it. Is that
altimeter?
Right?
Is that what it is?
Altimeter.
It makes sense.
When it gets the altitude, it detonates.
Smart.
Yeah.
That was it.
It makes sense because otherwise you could just do it at any time you're just carrying it around.
Yeah, I found the sophistication went up there significantly.
Yeah, except that it also malfunctioned.
It did.
So
it didn't ignite. It began to smoke.
Oh, okay.
So the plane had to have an emergency landing.
Some people had smoke inhalation.
Yeah.
Someone's dog's on fire.
And so what? Again, failure to read other than the Cliff's notes. The powder he used was barium nitrate.
No.
Which is found in like green fireworks, and it required a different ignition temperature than the normal like saltpeter or whatever he was using before. So it just it just smoked, and this is what got the FBI involved.
Yeah.
Because of it being airspace.
Yeah.
Planes, interstate commerce, all that shit.
Right.
And but they did say that if it did go off, it would have exploded the plane.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
And there's a big difference between targeting,
there's a vast difference.
There's a vast difference between fingering and he sent these bombs to universities to. Theoretically, I mean,
it had been two universities,
and
he was targeting people who he felt were responsible for, or would be responsible for, the progression of technology.
Yes, and also, mind psychology research.
We'll get to that later,
right? But this is just an airline,
right,
with tons of randos on it,
But the plane is the thing.
The plane is the thing.
I understand
It's
that.
the environmental aspect. Yeah,
I understand that, but this is a very different idea of the idea of that he's supposed to be in his head a good guy. Maybe he doesn't think he's a good guy, but he thinks he's working towards some better.
Based on his. Well, here's the thing. We'll get to the manifesto, but part of it is the environmental impact that airplanes have.
Yes,
but also part of his manifesto is about just sowing enough distrust in the pillars of society that would cause enough people to reject it.
Okay.
And another, and part of his time at Harvard was that he didn't see himself as moral because of the education at the time. It was that he was rational. He was a rational actor, not a moral actor.
Yes,
which is also a very Inselly thing too.
Oh yeah. Right.
Oh yeah.
Reason.
And then the thing is that's ironic is to respectfully counter, the whole thing is emotional.
Yes.
The whole thing is about attention, and he had
revenge,
and he hadn't got enough attention,
right?
And he knew the plane would get him there.
Yeah.
So
it would get his cause there. His hope was.
Yeah, it's ultimately about him now.
Yes, he said he wanted revenge.
Yeah, and that's the thing is you can act like it's. And they're leaving the FC in all the bombs. Like it's
right. So we didn't say that yet, but he would leave once he got a little more advanced, and also in the manifesto he would
etch into the metal,
etch into pieces of metal.
But I think even from the beginning he was doing it.
Oh really? FC, which was Freedom Club.
Yeah, I think I remember you guys mentioning
which was a
that there
great band in the 80s. New wave, really good stuff.
No, they helped start a revolution in Bulgaria that overthrew the government.
Well, it's the Bulgarian.
Oh,
Yeah.
They had that song about not coming.
They spun off into Molchat, don't they?
Yeah, that's right. Which is about coming.
So, and you know, what was I going to say about it? You know, he also, later in the manifesto, he doesn't have, I mean, say what you want about the Communist Manifesto. Much like Ted's manifesto, Marx's critiques of capitalism,
Yes.
are dead on.
Right.
And so are Ted's critiques of technological progress and post-industrial life.
Yes.
But he doesn't prescribe a cure.
Doesn't say, he said,
Right.
I don't know what happens next, but
Right.
this has got to go.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know what
Marx
happens
at
next.
least gave an idea.
Maybe things explode.
He said something. It
Yeah.
hasn't worked. It's not
Airlines,
necessarily working. But at least he said, maybe this comes later.
Right.
But Ted was just like, this has got to go.
Right. But it's also a guy that wants to get as far out of society as possible, telling society how to work.
Or how to stop it.
Yeah, yeah.
And
He's not telling it how to work.
And who's
Yeah.
He doesn't have any fucking
He's telling
clue.
it to stop working. Yeah.
Yeah.
like he did.
Just
Yeah.
give up, man.
Yeah. Just smeared shit on dogs.
Yeah, it's just like it's a force of nature, dude. You should know. He should have been smart enough to know that it is itself a force of nature.
Well, math is his forte, not necessarily philosophy or.
But he read so. Yeah,
Or the
you're- I mean,
logic
you're
of
right.
words, the
Yeah.
logic of numbers. Yes.
He read so much until he found a guy that agreed with him.
Yes. Sure. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But the machine's got a mind of its own.
Yeah, and here's the thing. What's ironic is that like, I'll get to it later when he sends the letter, but I wonder if like wouldn't it have been great if he saw Terminator 1 and 2 and The Matrix? Would you think he would have liked it?
You think he's seen it now?
Wait, why? What?
Well, because it's about
Hmm.
the progression of technology
Uh-huh.
going sideways,
Right.
Mhm.
and I think he would have liked it.
Right. Yeah. I think.
But he won't.
Well, it's one of those things.
gotta be available.
Here's the thing there too that is terrible ironic is where you go like oh yeah, you know this progression will lead to the end of man. It's like, aren't you sending bombs through the mail to
And men?
yeah to end, like I was like
Aren't you using?
wouldn't you be happiest?
Well, that's what I mean about like the plane. Like there are so many people on that plane who you don't know why they're taking the plane. They could.
Well, they got a deal,
Yeah.
and there was a Groupon.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll.
He doesn't give a fuck at all.
No, his point is
in his
to
writing. In his writings, like in the journals,
He's an agent of chaos.
Yeah.
To a
Which
degree.
is the lamest.
I mean,
agent.
there's no sympathy,
Right.
none.
No, he sees it as just dust in the wind.
Yeah, if the
yeah.
bomb didn't go off, but a guy was like blinded after, he would be like, I'm really pissed the bomb didn't go off.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing, like.
I think I was already blind. And it's fine.
So this is the one the bomb. The bomb that was a dud got the FBI involved, and they created the Unabomber task force
Right.
in conjunction with the ATF and the U.S. Postal Service in 1979, and it's called the Unabomber UNABOM task force because it was the university
And airline.
and airline bomber.
Right.
It's not. We were talking about this on the Patreon. It's like, I, for the longest time, thought it was the Unabomber because it was one guy.
Right.
But they didn't know that.
No.
True.
Nobody.
And he deliberately
Obfuscated that.
obfuscated that. It
Which
was-
is smart.
University and airline bomber. There's a whole division of the FBI that just figures out how to call what to call things.
Oh, yeah, the acronym.
But yeah, it was the
Which doesn't have an
the
acronym.
irony,
there's no name
irony of
for
it was it's a freedom club, right? And then in the manifesto, it's "We Believe," and it is just a lone guy in the woods. And
Well, but also the voices.
Yeah, he didn't have schizophrenia.
no, that comes up
that
later.
comes up later.
Yeah,
The forest talked to him.
the trees.
The trees.
He speaks for the trees.
Yeah, he speaks.
He's the Lorax.
And the deer hooves. Yeah.
Then in 1980, A package is sent to United Airlines President Percy Wood
He would.
at his home near Chicago. Wood suffers burns all over his body, cuts as well.
So this one works.
Oh, yeah, makes a full recovery.
Oh, doesn't work that well.
Still, 0 body count. Must be fucking demoralizing.
Well, the Freedom Club. There's a Freedom Club.
But that's also a thing, too, where it's like now CEOs are getting involved.
Right.
That sort of thing, where the FBI is going to go like, oh, shit.
Right. It's not the university dorks. Now it's airlines and
Right.
rich people.
81, October 81, another one of his bombs is found in a business classroom. Business class, not on Airlines, but a classroom teaching business at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City.
And it wasn't a business of bomb making or anything. It was just
No. It was
a bomb making workshop. Yeah. Somebody leave this? No,
It sucks.
but
it was diffused.
But that's the thing. It's like the Cavalier. Like anybody can find it.
Yeah.
They like it could be the janitor. Like
It's about
if you
sending a message.
If you want to sow chaos and sell Newsweeks, I guess that's what you do.
Yeah, but it's that thing where you go like, okay, so the targeting of people, whatever, it carries the message that eventually would come later.
Mm-hmm.
But at first you just go like, this is just about me being pissed.
Yeah.
And blowing off steam.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
You know, it could be any student that could be the most anti-civilization primitivist.
Right.
Could have picked that up and
Sure. It's certain, but they're in a business class, they're in his eyes, anybody who is not living off the land is aiding and abetting in the system that he hates.
And
Right.
but he's still fucking
But could he have potentially lost a future convert? Of course.
But he's still fucking with the neighbor's dogs and like that isn't the neighbor.
We haven't got to that yet.
Okay, hold on.
But I'm just saying.
No.
It was.
We'll get there.
You did mention it in the first episode.
But we will get there
Okay.
because it proves what John is saying. But
Okay.
I want to get to what I want to make the point.
Please.
His point.
At this point,
He just wants to sow distrust and chaos in the entire techno-economic system that we live in.
Yeah.
He wants people to be like, what the fuck? Nowhere is safe. Our institutions are not protecting us. They're failing.
Right.
I'm leaving Wall Street to garden. Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. It's going to happen eventually. Just wait.
Well, it's going to happen because the mega the top is going to destroy itself.
Yeah, it'll get top heavy or climate catastrophe.
It's all going to happen not because of like lone bomb man, but because eventually the housing market collapses.
In his manifesto, he says like any change that happens it doesn't need to be a majority take. You just need a very determined, capable minority. Every revolution starts that way.
Someone who flees.
You need to just convince enough dedicated people to do something, and that's what he eventually tries to do. So
you're right, the guy who never,
who hates people.
Yeah.
So
not a single friend.
In 82, Cinco de Mayo, Janet Smith,
Ribbit,
secretary at Vanderbilt University, opens a package, blows up. She gets some burns on her hand, some shrapnel.
Mm-hmm.
Full recovery, thank God. A month later, in June,
man,
I mean, he's really he's ripping it up.
But people are still open packages. I mean, that's the thing that should have stopped.
Oh, it changed.
That changed.
Yeah, no, yeah. Imagine a bit.
And that kind of was the point.
That's not a good point.
That's not a good point.
No.
To make going to the post office a pain in the ass is not a good point.
The post office is the best thing the United States has ever
right, and
done.
imagine if it stopped working, which they almost did.
I mean, well, these
he
days...
would later go on...
He's a regular Paul DeJoy or whatever his name is.
When he called in, years later, he called in a threat to... SFO airport in LAX and said that there are bombs on these USPS planes.
Yeah.
He gave tail numbers. Mm-hmm. And the USPS said, we are not delivering packages anymore. So that is kind of the point.
Yes, but you know what?
I'm not saying it's right.
No, I know. I'm not saying you're arguing for him.
I am.
What I love about that, though, is he doesn't realize that if the Postal Service stops delivering packages, FedEx is going to deliver them.
Yeah.
So now the private company is going to be making tons of money.
How jazzed?
We don't care about our employees even less than the USPS.
How jazzed do you think he was when Trump was going after them?
Yeah.
He was like, "Ooh, we can't count the votes." Boy.
So in 82, a month after Janet gets some fucked up shit, an engineering professor at Berkeley, where he used to work,
What?
sounds like a Greek guy, Diogenes Angelakos.
Yeah, that does sound like a Greek guy.
Funny note, Diogenes is the name of an ancient Greek cynic
Yes.
philosopher
Yes.
who lived in a wine jug eating onions and was friends with only dogs.
Huh.
Interesting.
Did he rub shit on him?
Oh, he smelled like shit,
No,
famously.
okay. Oh, wow. That's
Famously ate onions to keep people away.
Wow.
I wonder if he
like apples. He had them like apples,
understood
which is
that.
really good.
He got a package, blew up, got severe burns, shrapnel lodge in his hands and face, full recovery. He's kind of a bad bomb maker, man.
Yeah.
You know, it is kind of like the Riddler in that he is smarter than everybody, but you're not that good.
All right. Yeah.
Right.
You know, and you're mad at the world.
Yeah, the riddles are good. The bombs.
The
not so
riddles
much.
are fine,
Yeah, they could be better.
They could be
suppose.
better.
They could
Yeah.
be limericks.
and they're not jokes. And then so, it was in '83 that he's fucking ambling around the forest and shit, stepping in deer shit.
Picking it up.
And he's going to his favorite spot. And he sees that some son of a bitch put a road down.
Oh.
And
Which
roads,
means he hadn't been there.
where he was going, he didn't need roads.
That's true.
If he was surprised by a road, it means he hadn't been there in at least a week. It is his favorite spot.
Well, it's a big place.
It's his favorite spot.
Well, his favorite spot is his cabin.
Yeah.
His favorite spot outside the cabin
is the glory hole.
is the glory hole carved in a goosen log.
Yeah.
That is probably miles away.
Yeah.
You know, favorite spots out there in the wilderness. Take
Yeah.
a minute to get to.
True.
And so he said in an interview,
I couldn't
That-
believe there was a fucking road. What do you say?
he said it was that from that point on, I decided that rather than trying to acquire further wilderness skills, I would work on getting back at the system. Revenge. So
What further wilderness skills did he need? Anyway?
Yeah.
dude, I don't know.
Huh.
I mean, there's a lot of wilderness skills you could have.
Yeah, I was just
We don't even know, like that. We don't.
He was probably trying to figure out how to like overcome like the centipede stampede when he was goozing a log.
Yeah.
Or how can I
yeah.
attract more centipedes?
Yeah. He was like, I was a week away from taking up pottery, and then I saw this road, and I said, revenge.
Ironically, he could have done with Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Could
Yeah.
you? I mean, I'm gonna save what I want to say until later.
Oh, you have a manifesto for later. Good.
I have a comment on the manifesto.
You have a post manifesto.
Yeah, it was in the post.
You're a real manifesto.
In '85, May 15th, this would be the first time that he would fuck with suffered permanent injury.
Whoa.
So finally, a good fucking 10 years of bombing. Well, almost 10 years of bombing.
Well, it's like the 10,000 hour rule.
Yeah, you got to
You gotta work.
A lot of bombs.
Yeah.
This would happen with another graduate student from Berkeley, John Hauser. Ship blows up, and he loses 4 fingers,
Whoa.
a severed artery in his arm,
Oh, yikes.
Damn
and vision loss in both eyes, permanent, partial vision loss in his
Yikes.
eyes.
Must have been a really appetizing looking package. That's fucking.
In June, not even a month later, a package bomb is discovered and disarmed at Boeing
Now, when they
Aerospace in Washington.
when they disarm these, do they say
Well,
whether,
the other guy got almost disarmed, but
when they disarm the bombs, do they say whether it would have worked or do they say anything about the bomb when
They
they
go should work.
it's a bitch ass bomb, man. Smells like shit
All right, I already ate the dog hairs. No,
and
else.
horse feet.
Fucking thing, you never would have worked.
November 15th, 1985. Psychology professor, and now you'll know this one. One James McConnell.
Yes.
And his assistant, Nicholas Swino, are injured by a bomb addressed to McConnell at Ted's old workplace, the University of Michigan.
Yes.
Now, McConnell is the guy who he was the reason he was targeted was because he was a behavioral psychologist.
Yes.
And this was another one of these fucking areas of science that Kaczynski hated.
Yes.
Because behaviorism posits that you can condition people to do anything or condition people out of anything.
Right.
Yes, we talked about it in the first episode a little bit.
Yes, and this was the guy, McConnell was the guy who did the experiments where he would teach worms to do mazes.
Yeah.
And then he would chop up half the worm, grind it up, and feed it to other worms.
Yeah.
And then supposedly, in one experiment, those worms that ate the other worms knew the maze.
Yeah.
I believe he said it worked with rats too.
And it didn't. But at the time, it made him famous.
Yes.
I mean,
yes,
especially
yes.
when Kaczynski was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It made him famous and rich.
Yeah.
He had a book that went it became a bestseller. It made it into Alan Moore's Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, you want to believe it. It
Yes.
sounds just magical realism
but do you
enough.
think he was like outraged that he knew he was a quack?
No.
He was outraged about the science of behaviorism and behavioral manipulation
and
obedience.
And behavioral the experiments done on him at Harvard were in that same vein.
Yeah.
Of behavioral manipulation.
And particularly, the obedience.
The obedience thing was really it because obedience shows up a lot in the manifesto.
It does. And sometimes capitalized.
Oh, oftentimes capitalized. And, the science of behavioralism has merits, absolutely. But, and especially when you take into account Ted's critique of society, which is that these things are in place to elicit a certain behavior from people.
Yes.
Yes.
And those behaviors that it elicits are there to serve the institutions.
Best fiends.
Right. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Friends without the R.
every mobile game has some basis in
Every video game has is a Skinner box.
This will get them
Just
to
one more
keep
level.
coming back.
A good book.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
the
believe-
Da Vinci Code is a Skinner box.
I believe
you get
best-
to the end of a chapter in Da Vinci Code and you're like, all right, I got to read the next one.
I think Best Fiends,
Wait,
even in their
how
ad.
so? Did you elaborate on that?
A Skinner box it is something where it's from B.F. Skinner. And it would be, I'm going to butcher exactly how the box works, where it's, you complete a certain amount of tasks and then you get a reward at the end. And the reward incentivizes you to keep doing the maze.
Yes.
And it's never ending. But
Right.
a good video game is a Skinner box. You level up, you get a new skill, and then I want to play the next level. Like,
All right.
how many times have I in my 20s played a video game till 4 a.m. when I was like, should I went to sleep?
Right.
Like a good book is that, oh, wow. Okay, I'm going to just this last page, this last chapter, and I'll go to bed. And then you end on a cliffhanger and you get that dopamine drip and you're like, all right, I got to go again.
Yeah.
And so you can extrapolate that to the hierarchy of corporations and promotions and pay increases and carrot stick type of stuff.
Sure.
And so he's got a point there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got to bomb the guy who fed worms to worms, but I think he also, to your point, John, that it got personal for him because, the guy McConnell got rich and famous for being a professor.
He was on he would go on late night shows. And
yeah.
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 And I think there's
And the centering even around his home state shows it's personal.
Well, Michigan wasn't his home state, but
No. Chicago, Illinois.
It is.
yeah, a lot of the stuff was Chicago. This was University of Michigan, where he went to school. He taught.
Yeah. But it has a lot of. And then I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, and this is actually one of the things I really enjoy as a shithead.
Mm-hmm. As a shithead,
I enjoy this where he knows there's potential it's not going to go off because he's not the world's most trusty bomb maker. So he had the return address be some tech guy in San Francisco.
Oh, this is the later bomb.
Yeah. But
His name was like Bong Hu. It was a Taiwanese guy.
Yeah.
He was Thai.
Yeah. It was the thing.
It was the one that was the very last one, I think.
Was it?
I think it was one of the
But
last.
that cracked me up.
I know. I was going to wait to say it.
Sorry.
Why you got to bring up the Asian shit right away, man? I was going to save it.
I'm just saying, just the thing of like, I'm going to inconvenience somebody I also don't like.
Right.
It was very funny to me.
One thing I wanted to touch on though was behaviorism. Like that study of that can be used for good things. Like
of course,
psychology, like working with a therapist.
Yes, cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yes, and
you can rehabilitate prisoners.
Yeah,
they're absolute. It's not all about manipulating people to buy fucking iPhone.
But it does seem like a lot of the studies of it were like, how do we fuck with? What happens when we fuck with people?
Well,
there's a lot of the early studies. Well, because it did come out of
an era where there was a lot of unethical testing.
Well, it came out of the soldiers coming back of the Korean War who said, no, we're staying in China.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where this idea of brainwashing comes from. And that's where this idea of behavioral...
That's where the term Manchurian Candidate comes from.
But then this is where that area of study comes from.
Right.
And so it starts with an idea where the U.S. government says, oh, they're fucking stealing our brains.
Right. And
so we're going to do terrible studies.
And he's right that we our worst tendency, we have all these amazing tools and technologies at our disposal. And I think he's even said it in his manifesto that, technology can be used for great things. It's just, we suck and we're not.
Yes.
Right.
Our worst impulses take over,
Yeah, there's no app for, there's a guy that needs help over here right now.
There is now BetterHelp. Not a sponsor of the show, but BetterHelp.
But you know what I'm saying? Like that. Like the app is like, oh, there's a fucking terrible crime going down near you.
Right. Yeah. The Citizen app is like, somebody's being murdered. We're going to send a private security force.
Do you want to buy the next door? It's like, hey, do you want to bitch about your neighbors? Here you go.
Yeah.
And, but also like it got to, I think, hopefully as bad as it'll go with. When it was basically just exposed, like, Facebook totally capitalizes on your hatred and fear.
Yes.
And then that really came out, and then it was like, there was some kind of backlash to that, and it was like, okay, well, the throne wasn't deposed or, but it was a thing of just like, we're pretty mad about this, and this is not okay.
Well, and here's why. The reason it is the strongest emotion.
It's profit motive. It's sheer profit motive.
And it's also they tell the algorithm, feed them what they react to most.
Yeah.
And what people react to most are negative things.
Yeah.
That's how we survive.
Yeah.
We have a negative bias. We notice the tiger in the grass, not the grass.
Yeah, I was talking
is it the algorithm's fault? I guess human beings made the algorithm, but the algorithm is just go to where they go.
The algorithm is told, it's just
but
told.
Feed them more of what they react to, and what people react to is negative shit.
Yes.
Aaron, I have an absolutely brilliant thing to say to you.
Oh my God.
And it flatters you, of course.
Oh my God.
That's what makes it brilliant.
It's an idea that you introduced to me, which is a thing where you have a relationship with somebody, and they say something to you that is a shit test, you've called it?
Which is a term that I pilfered from the pickup artist community.
Yes.
When I was doing a parody character.
Yes. But it's a thing where somebody goes like, oh yeah, like you should hit on that girl if you want to, like to see if you're gonna or like, no, I'm you know, I don't think like you can you know, really love me, or like one of those kind of things where you're like
you don't love me enough to stand up for me.
Where you're like, what are you doing here? And it's one of these things that happens, and of course, it's
challenging your manhood or your agency.
It's reaction bait.
Yes.
And so there's a thing where
it's clit bait.
yeah, it's clickbait. But there's a thing where
you heard it here first.
I think it could be you could consider it altruistic to be like promote whatever people are reacting to most, because it's what they're reacting to.
Giving them what they want.
But then you also realize if they're reacting to it, it means they'll see more ads and we'll get more money. So it's totally a profit motive.
Absolutely.
And then it becomes a thing of let's just make all of media a shit test on a minute to minute, scroll by scroll basis.
Yeah.
And it is.
And include fake news that is just outrages you. Like it
is.
It turns out it's legal to fuck kids now. Like they'll just do shit like that. You know,
what?
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you mean they'll say that on the news?
Yeah, like fake news shit will just be like, like, you know, fucking blah, blah, blah is legal. And you're like, nah, it's not, you know.
Yeah, if it bleeds, it leads, man.
But I think that was basically, they kind of were like, you know, it's shit test. And we're making so much money because it was at a time, especially when like older people were getting into Facebook.
And they're stupid.
And they believe anything.
Right. Because they come from an era where there was the Fairness Doctrine and there was Walter Cronkite.
Oh, dude.
And although there were only 3 sources of news, they did seem to have some sort of code.
Yes.
I mean, there are more sources of news and information than we could have ever imagined, and that's good.
Yes.
But there is so much more bullshit.
Yeah.
That I feel like they just don't have the ability to suss out that shit. And so they just inherently believe
100%.
what they want to believe.
Yeah. Yes. And there is, you know,
and there'll be deaths.
Compared to the Cronkite era, the corporate news is far worse. The BBC, you know, if you watch, like when you're over there, like there's no flavor to it. There's no sizzle. It was just like, this happened here, this happened, you know, it's like...
Yeah, those shows, anytime Tucker Carlson or Alex Jones goes to court, they get sued for something, they say...
You're entertainment.
I'm an entertainer. I'm not a journalist.
Yeah.
I
know, it's a fucking joke.
Please suck my dick.
Yeah.
Please.
No, I don't think they'd be good
Put the bow tie around your cock and balls as a cock ring, which you need.
No.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
And blow me.
No.
It's just so infuriating, especially with all the shit that happened in Buffalo, too. Okay. Facebook bad. Walter Cronkite good. Okay, so also part of McConnell's thing was that, just as an aside, that in relation to the worms, was that memories could exist outside the brain.
Whoa.
Well, you know, if you chop the worm up and you feed the worm to other worms, those memories, I mean, they're much more simpler organisms, of course, and then they could theoretically be transferred to other organisms. So, let's say, like in The Matrix or one of my favorite movies, Dark City.
Yes.
Here's a pill. Now you can fly a helicopter. Right. And I think that was also something that
Watchmen. Watchmen had the nostalgia thing.
Oh, the television program Watchmen, right?
Yes.
And so you know, there is. I think that rubbed Kaczynski the wrong way.
Sure.
And also, you know, it's a lot more sexier than, you know, the
advanced mathematics.
Transforms. Whatever he was doing.
Yep.
Then December '85, he gets his first confirmed kill. Hey!
Whoa!
One of his bombs reaches Hugh Scruton in the parking lot next to his Sacramento computer store.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a small bit. It's not the fucking CEO of Dell.
Right.
No.
It's not Steve Jobs.
Right.
Yeah.
And
It's a dude that has a computer store in Sacramento.
Right, but in 1975 in Berkeley, he once stepped on a man's foot.
Hugh Scruton?
Yeah, and that was the Unabomber's foot. And he has never forgotten.
And that man was Dale Barra.
And he was high as shit.
Chopped to the gills. What's a computer anyway?
Shout out to the Blue Cane Baseball episode. Wonderful episode.
That's
one of the best episodes we've done. So that it was made to look like a piece of debris. Like,
really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Just like outside the back door, like, oh, here's like a cardboard box and a piece of wood and a.
That means the Unabomber he must have traveled there, right?
That's what we assume.
Yeah, he dropped it off.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too, was I think, sometimes he wanted the intimacy of it.
Well, and also spread it around. I can't have them all be in Chicago area.
Mm-hmm.
I can't have them all be at school places I used to work.
And the mailings were always coming from
other
San Francisco.
Right.
So he would be traveling all the way from Montana to San Francisco just to mail something.
Right.
And so the profile was very much like, oh, this guy's in the San Francisco area.
Mm-hmm.
And
they had changed the profile a couple of times.
Yeah, sure.
But it was always very intelligent, highly educated. Then he made it into like the wilderness.
They had some stuff where like he was like some stuff where it was out too. Where it was like he failed out of school or like some stuff but definitely like he's got a hard on for
academics.
Yeah.
And probably from academia himself.
Yeah.
So the guy picked it up. And it was just like basically a pipe bomb full of nails.
Nightmarish way to do it.
Yeah. And
this guy didn't die right away.
Yeah. I think he even wrote. I think this was the guy that he wrote in when they raided him and they arrested him and
they found all the journals.
They found all the journals. I think he said, bomb went off, killed the guy. Most likely a painless. I'm happy it was a painless death, but. It wasn't.
It wasn't.
No, it was a horrific death. Yeah. They found him screaming bloody murder.
Begging for help.
Yeah. It was a nightmare.
Jeez.
Now, this guy Scruton was a summer math student in 1967.
Okay.
The year at Berkeley.
Gotcha.
No. His student?
Not necessarily his. Was a student at Berkeley in 1967 when he taught there.
I had the year wrong,
He probably
right.
wasn't in the classes.
He stepped on his foot.
You know. Stepped on his foot.
I call him strutting and strutting.
He's always stepping on.
He's always stepping. So stupid. Strutting and strutting.
That's good. That's good.
I'm embarrassed. But
now it's 1987.
Nice.
February 20th. Gary Wright, Salt Lake City, computer shop owner.
Did it again, yeah.
Blast sends him flying through the air.
Wow.
200 pieces of shrapnel torn to his body.
Oh, God.
Severing nerds in his arm. Does survive.
Oh, still
not only that.
Not a good time.
We'll get to what happens with Gary Wright and David.
Oh, no.
David Wright?
I was going to say that was the event where Teddy K was seen.
Right. I thought that was the Sacramento one. Was that not the...
No,
was it
that one.
It was the Salt Lake City one that would then go on to be the sketch?
The drawing comes from...
Right. So the famous drawing that everybody knows is actually the second. There was a first sketch.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Uh-huh. And it is...
it's in crayon. It's really bad.
I'll show it to you. Right. As a matter of fact, let Jamie pull it up. This is... yeah, you're right. It was the after Gary Wright. There was, I think, a woman saw a guy in the parking lot for 12 seconds.
She worked in Gary's store.
That's right.
After it happened, she was like, I remember seeing a guy like leave a bag in the parking lot and like being like, What's that about?
And it looked like this, which is not the famous one you all know.
But close.
Close, yeah. Guy, hoodie,
Yeah.
glasses, mustache.
Yeah.
I think the second one later, it was like a thing where like I remember being like,
The witness demanded years later, like almost 5, 6 years later, she said, I need to do another one.
oh really?
Yeah. And so that was Jeanne Boylan was the sketch artist.
Yeah.
And the witness, she insisted that the 87 sketch be revised to the wildly different, not really, but much more iconic.
And also closer to his actual face. It is.
Yeah, it's closer to his face, which is for a 10-year-old memory.
Oh yeah.
Or, you know, 8-year-old, whatever. It must have been 6 years by when he was arrested.
Right.
And this woman, Jeanne Boylan,
But it only sears deeper as the years go by.
No, dude, eyewitness testimony is the least reliable testimony.
But that second draft is better.
Yeah, it's because this woman is like the Michael Jordan of sketch artists. She did the Polly Klaas abduction. She did a bunch of off of just.
That's a weird.
And when they found, I think when they found the person that took Polly Klaas, they were like, "This is exactly him."
Wow.
They're like, "This is uncanny." I don't know how.
Wow.
She's just like the best fucking forensic sketch artist in history.
Yeah, no, that's I've never really explored that. That's very interesting.
Can we do a quick break and come back?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We got to the drawing. I mean, that's a big deal.
Drawings are great. And after that, we'll find out who won it.
All right, we'll be right back, folks. And we're back.
Sup?
I want to send a special shout out to Allison Molnar, my great pal from years of old, one of the prettiest women on earth, and
Hello.
She was really excited we were doing this. She was pumping it.
She's a big Unabomber head.
Yeah, she's Ted K. She's Freedom Club.
Yeah.
Freedom Club.
Yeah.
Honorary member?
Huh?
Honorary member?
Yeah.
Didn't know they let anybody in. Period. It was a one-man club.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Even his brother couldn't get in.
Yeah.
Dude. Fucking asshole.
All right, hit me.
So, what's next? Where are we at? The year is now. Okay, so 87 was when Gary Wright just fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Sketch made, released.
Mm-hmm.
6 years go by before anything. They almost dropped the case.
Oh, he got very afraid.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh fuck."
And so this is kind of part of like sort of the bomber psychology too.
The what?
The bomber psychology,
Not the bombers.
as opposed to the serial killer, etc.
Yeah, because right now he's only killed one person.
There's a thing where
Not exactly serial, babe.
they do want the attention, but they are very afraid of the consequence, and
And he doesn't.
that will outweigh the need to complain.
What do you mean complain?
Well, I mean,
About the system?
the bombing campaign is the complaint,
Right,
Yes,
got
yes,
it.
yes,
But not wanting to deal with the consequences, and particularly for him from the
Well, the consequences are severe.
yeah, but ironically later it would be perfect for him.
Yeah.
But he was afraid of particularly confinement.
Authority, obedience.
Yeah, and prison is all of those things. And so he was like, and he knew he was seen.
Yeah.
And he kind of knew that he went too far. And
Sacramento's far, dude.
But the last two were drop-offs. The other ones were through the mail, and it was a thing where like he was getting into the act.
Yeah.
And he knew that he overplayed his hand, and so
Certainly, yeah.
So there's a thing where in the psychology of people doing this kind of a crime, where they're like, okay, well, I don't want to do that, and if they can find an outlet, for what I'm calling the complaint, in other ways,
grievance.
In other ways, they'll do that, and so you see in those silent years a lot more acrimony towards his family, kind of opening up and being like, "You pushed me too far with this academia shit. It wasn't fair. It wasn't cool."
His brother he stopped corresponding with his brother. He called it that his brother basically through the mail was telling him that, you know, I'm gonna marry this woman. I'm gonna move to the upstate New York.
Yeah, David met a girl, and he was like, "I am abandoning the primitivist lifestyle."
Man, you have sex with one person, all of a sudden you don't want to.
I know, and that's the thing
Live like a
too. That's the
caveman.
thing too, is that definitely the incel level jealousy is playing a part there.
Yeah.
But it's also
We were in this isolation together.
yeah, we
Yeah.
we were, and it is a thing. You know, like we talked, like it is. They were alone together, like
Yeah, and the thing his mother said to him, to his younger brother was, "Don't abandon Ted."
don't abandon
Right.
Ted.
Like, Ted was already abandoned by
David, yeah.
right. But in his mind, David, his younger brother, was alone with him in this, you know, this primitive lifestyle.
But also, it wasn't fair because they bought that land together in Montana,
and he said,
and he was like, "No, dude, I need to leave here alone."
Yeah.
And so David had to do it on his own.
Yeah.
But David always looked up to Ted,
Sure.
and
Older brother.
and he loved him, and in fairness, Ted also loved his younger brother, and they were the only people that really could get each other. And you know, David is almost the example of what Ted could have been if things had gone right.
Yeah, right.
You know,
and was not as smart.
sure, but and that
Good.
and
Yeah.
and that's a burden.
Yeah, being that level of intelligence, with few exception, is inherently
A burden.
Yeah.
isolating.
Yes, yeah.
And
Who are you going to talk to?
a fucking slide rule?
His
Like what?
master of mathematics thesis, like we said, 12 people in the country they said could even understand it.
Yeah.
So it's like that's already like, okay, here's this award-winning thing you've done. That's like, you know, this achievement, and like
I hope
people
that one day his thesis and the other things that he published as a mathematician, one day down the road, are found in some way to be applicable to artificial intelligence. Just as a real ironic knife in the side.
Well, do you know what was his?
It has a name. It's
I
like
hope so.
it's a formula for getting human shit into dog.
Yeah.
main.
with
it
the
takes two-
minimal amount of strokes.
Two hands that have never done hard labor. That's what it takes.
It's like border transforms and something. It is high level theoretical mathematics that for most of life has no application.
Yes.
But that's speaking from an idiot.
Sure.
So
and also, but I would say it's also part of his thing too, where
it's really about just the universe and how.
But he was so there, and he was going like, I've reached this summit of mathematics, and there's nobody to even talk to anymore. So it's very easy to see why he would quit and be like, he's like, it has no function in humanity. And so when people were at, I think when he quit Berkeley, were so surprised. And they thought it was kind of like because of the upheaval of the political times on campus.
Right.
Because it's like, you know,
everyone's fucking
69
taking acid and fucking each other.
Yeah,
and
no one's
listening to
wearing
music.
bras and he still can't
But
get
he's
laid.
just still on his own trip,
Yeah.
you know. But he's going like, he's just like, I'm just quitting math.
Yeah.
And then he tied it back.
I love foam.
He tied it back to the thing of, me and my brother have been talking about this primitivist thing.
Meanwhile, the guy feeding worms to worms is fucking all the co-eds.
Yeah.
And he's also bringing it back to like the only happy times I've really had is like those camping times with my dad.
Right.
Harvard was the worst time of my life.
Harvard was so he's going like, yeah, I'm just gonna go back to this, whatever. But when David abandons the lifestyle,
Yeah.
it's one of the things where they were alone, and like the letters from each other would be such a big deal.
Yeah.
That it was like, because mostly he doesn't do good things through the mail.
Right.
But like,
I mean, I think that depending on how many letters they wrote, most of the good stuff were letters.
Yeah. But he also is starting in those letters to have these complaints about the society that would show up in the manifesto.
Mm-hmm.
So then when David abandons the lifestyle, he's like, listen, you cannot talk to me anymore. He's like, you're
a sellout.
You're a sellout. I'm writing you off. And he goes, the only way I will ever respond to you is if it's
an emergency.
An emergency. And the signal is there's a line under the stamp.
You write a horizontal line underneath the postage
and that
stamp.
means like
I'll open it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I burn them.
Otherwise, I'm not opening it.
He burns them.
So it was a thing where
it wasn't until his father died.
His father, he was just sick.
Oh, that's right. He had
His
lung
father,
cancer.
he had cancer.
Yes.
And then he was like, listen, like Dad's really sick.
He wrote back.
He wrote back. And he just said, thank you for sticking to the system.
So he put a line under the stamp when he wrote that.
He didn't say anything about his dad or whatever. And then I guess like the next one still had a line under it when it was when his dad died.
Mm-hmm.
And
then he sent one that was just a picture of his dick.
No, he did not do that.
It was that that one that meme
That's
that
good.
went
Sending
around.
a bomb through the mail right there. I'll tell you. Though.
Yeah, it's the one where he's got the aviators on. And
Yeah.
But he didn't come to the funeral. And he was like, I think he just called his mom and Ted, and then the only times which is so funny to me. The only times after that, like, because he basically was like, I hate all of you, and that might have been because he couldn't blow off steam with his bomb making career,
Right.
Which most of the bombs just did was blow off steam.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Most of them.
Yeah.
But and the mother is like going like, I don't understand. But also like, in fairness to Ted, they should have understood. They put him in a very bizarre position.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And like, even just like when he had to skip grades, when he was being social, after he had been highly antisocial or like allergic to socialization.
Right.
And then
I think it's right around 6th grade. And then
you make him skip.
And then you make him skip.
And then you make him skip again.
And then you make him skip all the way up to Harvard, and he's a 16-year-old. And it's like a thing where it's like,
dude,
you know that
there are other forms of education more important.
Yeah, he needs this.
Yeah.
And so they, in my opinion, they let him down.
Yeah, absolutely.
And but the one thing was like his brother didn't. His brother, stayed in until this thing happened.
But like, he's got his own life to live, and it's not his responsibility to take care of his brother when you're fucking 40-year-old men. Like,
Right.
Yeah. And also, so the thing was like, I won't read your letters unless it's an emergency. But also like, he would write letters with tirades against this woman that had corrupted his brother. That he never met.
oh yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And so we'll get to that. But like the incel,
because they grew up together.
The incel,
She's from their hometown.
yeah. But the incelly nature comes into it, and you can see that it is jealousy driven.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also like, not only did I not get a girlfriend, but my brother did, and you also
And he abandoned me
and he
because
abandoned
of
me.
Which is,
Which is all he never. His brother did not abandon.
no.
If you're only
he abandoned everything. He abandoned society. He abandoned everything.
Yeah.
But it's just an immature reaction that a lot of people have at some point in their lives, just not when you're a 45-year-old
Yeah.
math. You shouldn't have that.
Right.
It's just a maladjustment.
My big takeaway, I guess, is like it's a genius's decades-long tantrum.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
he lived in his own echo chamber. Like there's a reason that solitary confinement is for most people cruel and unusual punishment
Mm-hmm.
Well,
because you go crazier
yeah.
when
Yeah.
you don't have any contact with people.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are so smart that you can feign sanity or actually maintain sanity in isolation, you just ruminate and ruminate on the same 5 experiences in your life that impacted you because you haven't had any other ones.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, fucking go to Disneyland.
But not only that,
Like,
here's another idea.
You gotta be around people.
Here's another idea.
You're a person.
There's a thing where, like I've said before, Tina Fey said, the best SNL stuff is the dumbest actors with the Harvard-educated writers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a thing where that brilliant Harvard guy can see something from a dumb guy, and he's like, I just don't even operate at that level, and like I'm now inspired by a dumb guy's thing.
Mm-hmm.
But Ted, I don't think even could enjoy that because
a dumb guy's thing.
Yeah, even like because nobody's as smart as him, so he's not. He's never gonna think.
I think he would have liked Van down by the river.
But no, but like
because he kind of lived in one.
No, but seriously, I don't think he could enjoy it for the reason of like he couldn't be inspired by even people he knew he was smarter than, because especially in those Harvard experiments, they had attacked his beliefs.
Right, and he was very much a black or white thinker.
And he had to double down on his beliefs.
Yeah, just to survive.
So it was a thing where, like, influence is not really going to get anywhere with this guy.
Right.
He doesn't trust the outside.
Right.
And with good fucking reason, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you can be brilliant and still still see a buffoon and go like, oh, he's got it figured out.
Yeah, the wisdom of Bay. You know, you can dumb happy shit.
Yes.
Like, oh man, isn't that? But I feel like to a degree, that's what he was trying to do in his Luddite existence, was abandon his genius.
No,
but let me.
That's a prison.
Let me the point I'm making is that you don't need to be a mathematical genius to live out off the land.
Mm-hmm.
That all that shit that he was, a prodigy at is inconsequential. Where he lives and where he wanted to live and where he advocated that we should the way we should all be living. It's so easy a caveman could do it because they did. And so I wonder if he resented, he clearly resented the way his parents pushed him towards that. And he left it, at the drop of a hat. Maybe he realized the futility of it all. And the fact that it was kind of probably contributing to the techno-industrial complex.
I think he was going back to the one warm memory of his childhood.
I think that too.
And I think it was more of an outcome of what the takeaway from the Bobby Fischer thing of take that
paranoia,
genius paranoia off the chessboard,
and now it goes into
real life,
right?
And
now you focus on
for that guy,
everything else that you see wrong.
For that guy, it was a chalkboard. And it was math problems. Right. And once he was there, it
became a book. It became books and the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe he should have stayed a mathematician. But
one of the closest relationships he had was the town librarian.
That's right.
Yeah. And she knew him, I think, like in the neighbor who he killed a lot of dogs.
He probably was like, she probably should just tell me to shush. This is a library.
Yeah.
Bitch.
But she knew, because he would look for really obscure stuff. Mm-hmm. And, another thing, ironically, as reliable as the postal system is the library system. It was like, you can get anything.
And if they don't have it, they'll get it.
Yeah. They'll get it. I mean, I know people that were like, here's this horribly obscure academic, and they're like, oh, it's in Indiana. We'll have it here like in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
Yeah. God bless the public library system. Do you want a movie? Go to the library. Mm-hmm. I mean, I won't, but...
You can
get tons of shit.
You can get
video games,
everything there.
It is one of the few wonderful shining beacons of our public service system.
Not in the postal service.
The postal service is, in my opinion, the one.
The tippy top.
Other than in some major cities like in LA, it kind of sucks here. But in general, the postal service.
They give me shit.
Yeah, they give me shit, but sometimes they push them too hard too. They push the workers too hard. They don't pay them enough.
That's definitely
and they've been
true.
infiltrated by private assholes. But the Postal Service, the library, firefighters, etc., love them. Ted's book, or Ted's his thesis, was boundary functions and sets of curvilinear convergence for continuous functions.
Okay, yeah.
And it's mostly Greek letters of the alphabet.
Functions are usually...
Dude, there's no fun in functions. He uses we a lot in it. Thus, by
Is there an abstract?
Dude, no.
No.
No. But that does say we. He does use we a lot in it.
It's a royal we.
But he uses it in his manifesto too.
Mm-hmm.
Let X not sigma A be given. We must show that G to the Z arrow 0 as Z approach. Anyways,
it is weird.
Yeah, but I mean, I think in a lot of theses you do use we. I don't know. Fuck, I just made that up.
Yeah, you like include this like crew behind you.
Yeah, my whole
freedom boys.
So,
okay, so
did I just erase my notes? Oh, no, here we go. So there's that 6-year period. You know, in 87 he kind of disappears. So he's back in the woods again. He got scared. You know, he gets spooked by the notoriety.
Mm-hmm. Well, he gets spooked by the picture.
Right, the picture. Right,
and he thought they were coming from right away.
Yeah. And you know, but really, they still had no fucking clue.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
they had no idea. I mean,
it's a picture. It's not a location.
And he did a very good job of obscuring what materials he was using.
Right.
And
today there would be license plate cameras that would triangulate.
which is what he was complaining about.
Yeah.
Oh, another thing too was
there was one security later. There would be a security camera photo of him at a post office,
but also pre-DNA.
I think later on they did get some DNA from a stamp. And it narrowed it down to 3% of the population.
And German Shepherds.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dogs lick them.
Here are the dogs.
We think he might be German, sir.
Or a shepherd.
But I think I was watching one of the documentaries on him, and I think, in fact, it was in his voice in an interview. He was saying, yeah, they got some of my DNA from a stamp.
Right.
But the DNA science, he would later go on to bomb a geneticist.
Yeah.
The science of DNA profiling wasn't advanced enough, and so they could only get, segments, and they narrowed it down to 3% of the population. He said, so 3% of a population of 300 million, it's millions of people, so they're not going to get me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it's not like he ever gave DNA anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
In fact,
he never had sex.
That's true.
It's good. You can give DNA in lots of ways, pal. You've got yours fucking all over the California area.
No one asked him to spit on them during sex.
I think he probably spit on that lady that wouldn't have sex with him.
Well, he did take a dump in her car, so there was something there.
Oh, yeah, that's where they're getting most of his DNA. It's from his doo-doo crimes. What a fucking idiot. Imagine being like a fucking genius playing with your own shit all the time.
So do you want to talk about being there in the woods for 6 years and his neighbor?
No, actually, I don't have a thorough knowledge about that, but I know that it was a thing like, basically they would come on the property.
The neighbor's dog, he was a loner, but he was, nice enough to the neighbors. And by neighbors, it's like, neighbor!
Yeah,
right. Huge
and
distance.
And he's very aware of where his land is.
Yeah, but also, it would be interesting to know what their living situation.
The dogs would be barking. Take shits on his property.
But I mean, their living situation, they probably moved to that area to be secluded, probably like a large house, but like a normal seclusion life. And then they go,
not a one-bedroom. Then they go, not a one.
When we walk 2 miles down there, there's the shack guy, and it's Ted. We know Ted, but that's.
Oh no, you wouldn't. I mean, you wouldn't even go there.
No, his neighbor.
His neighbor wouldn't see his place.
He probably wouldn't see his place. You would just see him at the general store.
Yeah, the amount of land you got, you would see him on the way to town.
No, but one of the neighbors later would bring the FBI to view
years later.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
And that's probably because they followed the trail of dog blood.
Okay. So
But yeah,
go on. So I'm just
as the
imagining.
years would go by, he would eventually. The guy, the neighbor, is like, yeah, I know he killed one of my dogs.
I heard it was as many as 9.
He's like, I know he killed one of my dogs.
Yeah.
And then when the 8 other ones died, I'm pretty sure it was Ted.
And it was poison, so the dog came back and died.
Oh, that was Putin. Putin poisoned those fucking dogs.
well, how did Ted kill him? Do you remember?
I don't know how he killed them.
Yeah.
Um,
But I think it was. Yeah,
I think
poison.
he sent them like a package.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know.
Dear Fido.
Wow, Fido wrote a package he sent to himself.
Weird.
Wait, like
He's got shitty fucking handwriting.
And he's got shitty fur.
So it would be. I mean, people thought that the Unabomber died, went underground, like just ended his shit. And then in 1993,
The bitch is back.
the bitch is back. He a geneticist at the University of San Francisco. One Charles Epstein, no relation. Opened a padded brown envelope. It exploded, blasting apart 3 of his fingers, breaking his arm, burning his hand, face, and abdomen. And this guy was a geneticist. He had breakthroughs in Down. He was the first guy to posit that Down syndrome would be the result of an extra chromosome.
oh wow.
And years would go by before he was vindicated.
Wow.
I mean, the guy was doing the Lord's work, I suppose, of creating, 4-headed people and giant cock people.
Sure.
But understanding of what makes that difference is pretty important. But also
How do you make a big cock person?
you
You
start
name him Brusso, right?
well, also that definitely helps. But you take a small cock and you add cocks on top of it.
In a trench coat?
Well, ideally.
I'm not wearing a trench coat on my cock, dude. I'm sorry.
But
The gall of this guy.
the a small brown envelope sounds like over the 6 years he had designed a better.
Yeah, he got better.
Delivery system.
He went instead of that first bomb that he made. It was like in a little box type package, and it was a nail tensioned by a rubber band.
Right, that's right.
That when you opened it, the rubber band would strike the nail across matches. Which
Yes.
would, he would then go on to use electric ignition.
It would cook Pee-wee's breakfast.
I think they use it in an OK Go video at one point.
Exactly.
That's Pee-wee's breakfast. Very nice. Pittance Foods, don't eat my cereal. Package from 10K. Boom, that's a magic word. So he was able to battery, like electronic ignition and stuff like that. So he got better.
Yeah.
2 days later,
Wow.
a Yale computer scientist, David Gellertner.
Part of the whole Yale thing.
What's that whole Yale thing?
Harvard Yale rivalry, you mean?
What is that whole Yale thing, John?
What is that whole Yale thing?
A lot of cocaine, homosexual sex.
What was that from?
If you're lucky.
American Psycho.
Oh, yes. Dude, I can't remember. Like, I just know that.
Yeah, it's great.
It is good.
Yale.
Yeah.
It's
played at the same
I'm
time.
sorry, I don't know if Dale died.
We should
But
ask
so
him.
far he's only got 1 kill.
Yale Dale.
Yale Dale. Okay, no. Yeah, David did not die, but he did get fucked up.
David is his name now.
David Gellertner from Yale University.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you said Dale.
Did I?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You made a portmanteau. It's fine.
I'm a rich man.
It's a Dale as old as time.
A Wong as old as a rhyme. A year and a half later, so this is now December 1994. An advertising executive, Tom Mosser, is the second fatality, the second murder.
Really?
Yeah, he was a Navy vet, served in Vietnam, and he was targeted because he was a. This is actually kind of understandable. He was the guy who helped Exxon clean up their image after the Exxon Valdez spill.
That was
Right.
one where I was going,
Hey, okay.
I'm not saying. I'm not saying anything.
I'm not saying you should have done it.
But
I understand.
That one's a wash.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's on.
That one is a wash. I'm sorry.
No.
You know how much Dawn dish soap they had to use to clean up those baby ducks?
I mean, they put on their advertising.
A lot.
That's how much they had to use.
I know. They probably own Dawn.
They probably own ducks.
Fucking assholes.
A lot of palm olive.
And so he's, his thing is back to this behavior thing.
Yes.
The business of this advertising, public relations.
Well, he probably rented They Live from the library.
And he put
but he's going into the disaster capitalism thing. At that point, like the geneticist thing is like a thing where it's like,
manipulation.
He's still
far.
He's operating on a sci-fi level,
but he is not totally wrong. I mean. He's a bad guy.
You know what I'm saying now.
He's thinking very far ahead with the genetic stuff.
Yes.
But he's going back to the behaviorism.
The exon thing is the thing where it's like,
well, it's still it's eco. It's on one side it is the eco terrorist stuff, but on the other hand it is I don't like you because you are in the business of manipulating public opinion and behavior.
Yeah.
And that is what public relations and advertising is. In fact, the guy that invented public relations, Edward Bernays, was Freud's nephew.
Mm-hmm.
And he would use Freud's theories, a lot of which are...
And that's why there's so much incest porn, right?
Yeah.
Well,
that's why Pepsi had that whole "fuck your mom" campaign.
Yeah, exactly. Because he was using
"fuck your mom" is the choice of a new generation, or
every generation,
or
kill your dad while you're at it.
Yeah.
And a pussy, man.
yeah. Pepsi and a pussy.
Just give me something without any dad in it.
Fuck you.
Dad-free choice of a new generation.
Oh, God. Dad-free.
So he killed that guy, which honestly is fine.
Stupid. What a stupid show we have.
We have a very stupid show.
Crystal Poppy.
We're talking about the Unabomber killing guy. And we just thought of Pepsi's real secret campaign.
No, but I mean, there is, I mean, like we're saying, and which is savage and wrong. Feel like, the guy, the apology campaign tour for this horrible thing.
Yes.
Was a fucking joke.
Yeah, and you're going
it is bad.
You're like, that's not okay. But like,
it is bad.
The guy doing stuff, working about like Down syndrome. It's like,
right.
It's the Cyberdyne thing. It's like nothing bad.
This is why I wanted him to watch Terminator and Terminator 2. Because that's what Sarah Connor was doing.
Yeah, nothing bad has happened yet.
Right.
It's
and that's why Sarah Connor was doing all that shit in Terminator 2, and that's why they went after that fucking guy, and he clicks the thing.
Right.
It's great.
Yes.
It's great. I stand by it.
Terminator 2 Judgment Day?
I do.
The blockbuster? You stand by it? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Most people do.
Well, if they go and listen to my explains it all of Terminator and Terminator 2, I think everybody will.
Continue, please.
1995, April 24th.
Offspring on the chart.
Clinton's in the White House.
Self-esteem.
Dude, you gotta keep them separated.
Hey.
The president of the California Forestry Association, Gilbert P. Murray, is the third and final fatality.
The president of the Forestry Association?
Well, you gotta understand.
Okay.
That's not who he meant to kill.
Oh.
Yes.
But
this is a late blunder.
But it is the position was who he did want to kill the previous CEO and president of the Forestry Association, William Dennison.
Oh.
He was the president from 1980 to 1994, and he was a very visible figure, and he was not very popular because he was basically a shill for the timber industry. He was basically the Louis DeJoy.
Yeah.
Louis DeJoy is to the Postal Service as
Louis
Dennison
DeJoy.
was to the Forestry Service.
Yes.
He fought against environmentalists on the behalf of logging industry.
Would you mind explaining the Lose to Joy thing real quick?
Luz DeJoy is the head of the Postal Service. He was a Trump appointee.
Yeah.
He used to run a private shipping company.
It's just something we can't gloss over.
Right.
Yes, no, briefly mentioned earlier. I said Paul DeJoy, but it's Louis DeJoy.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. They were going to turn all the mail trucks into electric trucks, and he scuttled the deal and made them buy
4 miles a gallon gas guzzlers.
Meanwhile, these are like the trucks that they use.
He was going to slow down the mail service, especially right during the election, with an election where there was like the most mail-in votes and all that stuff.
Gotcha.
He's still he's still the head right now, and I don't think that is going to last.
No.
Hopefully.
But he also could have probably been removed.
By Biden, yeah.
Yeah, well, there's a lot going on right now.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's why you hire people
Come on.
to remove.
I
take
know,
care of-
dude. He's old, man. He's old.
He's biding his time.
Yeah, you got to get rid of the guy.
Is he? Or is he not?
So
I don't think so.
so he meant to kill Dennis, and he ends up killing Gil Murray.
Yeah, that's a fuck up. If only he had Netscape.
I wasn't supposed to be here today.
Yeah. Oh, my first day. This is great. I'm in charge.
And then
Ooh, fan mail.
No, so wait. Was it addressed?
Yeah, it was just the old guy.
yeah.
Oh.
And it was the thing, it's like, he lives in the woods. He doesn't know who's in charge.
Yeah, dude.
Right.
There's no internet. And if I mean
No, he
it's the
could have had
beginning of
Netscape.
the internet.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets interesting and where I want to bring up a point. In 95, he mails several letters to media outlets outlining his goals and demanding that a major newspaper prints his 35,000-word essay, which you can get on Amazon,
Really thoughtful. of him
called
to-
Industrial Society and Its Future, which the FBI dubbed the Unabomber Manifesto. And he demanded it would be printed verbatim. And he said, I will desist from terrorism
Yes.
if the demand is met.
He knows it's terrorism.
Yeah. I mean, the purpose is, a little bit of directed violence. It goes a long way. And Janet Reno and FBI Director Louis Freeh, they recommended that they publish it out of concern for public safety and in the hope that a reader would identify the author.
But it was a long debate.
It was a long debate. The Post and the Times were like, And in steps Bob Guccione of Penthouse.
Oh, man. And Bob Guccione Jr., fuck you, too.
He goes, I'll publish it.
I'll publish this
He goes,
fucking
I'll publish
shit.
it with full bush.
Oh, baby.
Right. And Axl Rose is, so...
He goes, I put out Caligula, baby.
Yeah.
This Unabomber is the next big thing.
You gotta turn. It's a real lip turner.
Yeah.
Because I think at first it was like they might the Post and the Times were like, oh, we might not do it. And then there was almost a thing where Guccioni's going to do it, and
Kaczynski said, well, because it's a less respectable publication, I'll do one more.
I'll do one more killing.
I'm gonna do one more because
He said, if it's not a reputable source like the Times
I'll
and the
do
Post,
one more, yeah.
and it's the Penthouse, he goes, it's still getting out there. That's good. He goes, but
I gotta do one more.
I got to do one more. So
which is really just a threat to get the Post and the Times to do it.
Yes.
Sure, but at the same time, you can only imagine there's a Penthouse reader going, well, the environment is actually a lot more important than I thought it was.
So here's the thing. This would
Bu-
go on.
I love Bush.
Eventually,
I love bushes.
Eventually, the Washington Post would publish it verbatim. They made a whole section in the newspaper.
didn't they tandem it? No.
The New York Times paid half of it. They paid for half of it. They said, well, we're not publishing it, but we'll pay for half of the publication because they had a whole section of newspapers, 35,000
It's really
words.
too many words.
It's a lot of words.
He needed an editor.
He's a math guy.
He needed an editor.
So
But it was.
they gave it its own type. It's a whole distinct section in the newspaper, and it would actually go on to be, ironically, the last kind of print only phenomenon.
Proving Ted's point.
But here's the thing: could you imagine if Ted waited until he could have had a website?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He wouldn't need to rely on any of this, and he could have got his message out. I mean, there are so many followers of fucking Q because 4chan exists, and none of that shit makes any sense.
Well, yeah, but he would have had to wait.
And also
20.
2 years?
And also Matt,
No longer.
Matt, it was
He could have used, like, that's the thing, is that, like, if he really read Nietzsche, he would have known that sometimes to destroy the beast, you have to become the beast.
It was the thing too where it sold out. Like, it was like a thing.
Yeah.
It was like a phenomenon.
No, I imagine.
Yeah, and they did not print anymore.
They didn't print anymore. So it was the thing where it was like, people were like, kind of like craving this. They were like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, then they're
And
like,
also a big thing about it was, in the debate, was the guy that did the profile. And the profiler, who had stuff wrong. Well, like we said, like he wasn't a failed academic.
he loved hats.
But he had some problem or whatever. But he was the one that was really going, like, he was like, publish it. And he goes, because probably it will lead in 35,000 words.
With everybody still reading the newspaper.
Right.
Yeah.
It'll help us find him.
Well, there's that one paragraph that was all about human shit in dog hair.
Yeah.
And everyone was real, like someone had baked beans,
Yeah.
and they said, I know that guy.
Yeah. And then they looked up that article of Gardens and Homes.
Yeah.
How to get human shit into your dog's hair. And they were like, hey, wait, this sounds like the same verbiage.
So, but before they do publish it, when initially they don't publish it, he does send the letter to the San Francisco Chronicle saying that he threatens a flight out of Los Angeles. And that's when the post office was like, well, what if we just stop doing fucking packages? Because this fucking is bad news.
Right.
It says, warning, the terrorist group FC, called the Unabomber by the FBI, is planning to blow up an airliner out of Los Angeles International Airport
Fly out of
sometime during the
Burbank.
next few days. And then like 2 days later it goes, I was just fucking with you.
Right.
He just did a prank. That's also kind of weird to
Well,
me.
the Jerky Boys are big then. So
You think he had a fucking
yeah,
cassette
no, so
player?
he probably knew.
Yeah.
That was something
This
weird to me
is
that
Saul Rosenberg.
I don't understand. He killed my dog.
I'm going to bomb your place, man. That was the thing.
No, I'm not. I'm just kidding.
That was the thing in the church.
So they publish it. They publish the fucking thing. And again, I just can't help but really relish the irony of, like, dude, if you would have just waited until the internet took off, you could have got your because a lot of people read this shit and was like, dude, he's got a lot of fucking good points, man.
Yeah.
And he's critical of leftists in it and conservatives, and he has a little more ire for leftists, and he calls leftists mostly losers.
I think he's got some racist stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's in there. It's not, like he's not dying on that hill. But
No. But there's just like some like asides to like the black population or something where you're like, come on. Have you ever met a black person, Ted?
And those are the Italians.
Have you ever met a person, Ted?
Yeah, well,
so
have you ever been a person?
No.
So David, his brother, is married to Linda. Now, she already didn't like Ted.
Huh.
Based on the few interactions that they had.
Which they didn't have any.
No, she read the fucking letter.
She read the letters. And so it was the thing of like, this harlot in your house and they're taking you away.
Oh, but she knew Ted when they were young.
Yes.
She knew him from when they were young.
Yes. So she reads the manifesto.
And they had already, they had been talking about Ted for a minute already. Because
But David would worry about him.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And his
Estrangement from him.
and from just his whole thing about technology and stuff. And then the manifesto comes out. And she really becomes suspicious.
She reads it and she goes, David,
read this.
And she goes, this sounds like you're really Ted.
And so they hire
But David at first, and this is something I love in like a couple scenario. David is like, my brother is not the Unabomber.
okay.
And then he goes, he's like, I just had my mom move up to New York, and I've got all of Ted's letters. You read them. He goes, I'm going to read these side by side. And he goes, Oh fuck!
Oh yeah,
my
he
brother's the
is.
Unabomber.
Yeah.
So they hire a PI.
One of the phrases.
Well, we'll get to that.
Okay.
They hire an attorney and hire a PI,
Yeah, smart move.
and they look into Ted. And this woman, Susan Swanson, is the private investigator.
Mm-hmm.
And then they all gave these letters to the FBI that you're mentioning. And they give it to a hostage negotiator, criminal profiler, and they look at them. And
That was a big deal.
dude, he waited. It was weeks before they turned over before they contact the FBI. They he really wanted to make sure. But the thing that the nail in the coffin for David was this phrase in the manifesto, which was
he probably done in letters to David.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he said, "Cool-headed logicians."
he talks about the left. He
that
says
sounds like what was the
it was a punk band from DC in the late '80s.
it sounds,
Yeah.
what was
Plato on the bass.
the media with like the media episode we did? I can't remember the guy's name, but the really eccentric writings that guy.
Oh, the Frankenstein computer
Yes,
complex.
Frankenstein
the
computer
cool-headed
complex.
logicians of the Frankenstein computer brain.
Yes, it sounds very much like that.
I went to Bill Prince. Give this gentleman the cool-headed logic.
Give him cool head logically.
Yeah, so he was ranting about.
Cool-headed
He
logicians.
talks about the left who claims to be cool-headed logicians.
Even
runs on.
cool-headed logicians would know that. Blah blah. Like,
and it's like that's such a dumb phrase.
Annie Sprinkles
too.
was a cool-headed logician, and she was.
It's such a dumb.
But,
it's a dumb
but
phrase.
she knew it sounded like him because of the hate letters about her
Yeah.
that she had read, and she's going
just like the way the style
Right.
of writing.
Plus, a logician should be cool-headed
And-
already because they're a logician.
Aaron, do you have anything where in your head you would think there would be any suspicion from David with everything you knew in the years ensuing? Like even when he heard, like just looking at it through the news,
Michigan,
where he would just,
Berkeley.
where he would go like,
he came here, and then
maybe that's Ted. Do you ever think that?
I mean,
like,
if my brother was,
If my brother was brilliant, alone in the woods, and angry, I might go there.
yeah, well, like I think you and I both, we have similar brothers,
Yes, we do.
Oh.
and I mean, in very many ways,
Very, very.
and I still it would still like let's take our brothers and dial them up to 100
No.
on the negative side. It would still be very hard
For me to believe.
for me to
same.
believe. Yeah,
Yes, I
because
agree.
I just he's not the So unless I'm presented with evidence where it's like, man, he says this fucking shit a lot. Like this is his phrase. That's his catchphrase.
Yeah.
It'd be really hard. So I don't fault him for.
No,
that.
I don't.
And that's why you need a nice woman in your life, or man.
Oh man.
You need somebody in your life
Yeah.
to call out your blind spots. And
I think it's just so funny anyway, where it's like, because she was like, and he's going, oh, my brother's, because he hates you.
The famous guy.
He's the Unabomber.
Yeah.
That cracks me up.
Yeah.
And then it's like,
just because,
And then-
all of a sudden, because my brother doesn't like you, he's the #1 most wanted man
Yeah.
on the FBI's most wanted.
and then,
Oh yeah, why not?
and then on the tail end, she's doing like the longest I told you so of
Yes.
all time.
Yeah. She's like, did you take the trash out? And he's like, no, I did. And she's like, remember when I told you
Yeah.
that your brother was a Unabomber?
Well, you didn't believe me when I said your brother was, the guy in the Aviators. Remember that?
David, it's quicker if we take...
I told him you bought him those glasses.
It's quicker if we take the 84. No, I don't think it is. Remember when I told you your brother was a Unabomber and you didn't believe me?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure the 84 isn't quicker.
So
What do I know? I just ended a decades-long terror reign.
There's like, I think it was $1 million reward. So FBI in '96, the FBI obtained a search warrant on April 3rd, and they raided his cabin the same day.
But before that, they staked it out for a while.
They did stake it out.
Yes.
They staked it out for a while, and then there was kind of a thing where
Yeah, because this is
there was some kind of a leak, and the press were going to go with it that the suspect was Ted Kaczynski.
Yeah, and they were like,
and the feds were like,
please don't.
But for a while,
was he going to get a newspaper?
In like the town where he's going to the library, for instance, there's FBI guys, which probably to him looked mad obvious. I don't know. I'm sure shit doesn't change that much in a tiny Montana town.
Well, to be fair, the FBI does have like a fucking like facility where they have you train on being the normal guy in a place,
right? And they also specifically cited.
That's a great way to put it, Matt.
The
FBI has a facility where you train to be a normal guy,
and by facility I mean like mini town. It's a real where they're like they practice practice bank robberies. They practice just
but
I'd like to learn more about that.
But a bunch of people doing a stakeout. Yeah. And it's a town where there's not new characters. And then there's a bunch, I don't know.
No, sure, no.
But also, he's not in town a lot.
He's not in town a lot.
So, all you need is like two fucking guys.
And they were also really freaked out about this thing because, it's guys, like fucking, I don't know, Ted Koppler or whatever the fuck, wants to break it. Yeah. Who are the big anchors back then?
Yeah.
Sam Donaldson or whatever.
No. It was, who's the really great one?
Oh,
no. The guy that was
for Geraldo. Fuck, I'm so sorry.
It was fucking what's his name?
Tom Brokaw?
No. The dude from Texas. The dude from Texas that went on a memoir tour. Fuck.
A huge like networking.
Yes. For years and years and years and years. The good looking one.
Fuck.
The last good respectable one who was an anchor for like 50 years.
Oh, Dan Rather.
Dan Rather. I think it was Dan Rather.
But so it was a thing,
and he was like, "No, I won't do it."
Where they were specifically saying like, "Please don't do it because like we don't want another Ruby Ridge type situation."
Right.
And he's got guns.
That up.
And
he's got flintlocks probably.
And Ruby Ridge is what 2 years before.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So
they really fucked that up.
Oh yeah, and then they fucked up Waco maybe the same year.
Yeah.
Was Waco 96?
It was a real double whammy for fucking up.
I think Waco was before.
But so it wasn't me.
No, I think the ATF and FBI had a couple of bad runs.
It was bad, and also, a big guiding hand in it was David going like, dude. Do not fucking kill my brother.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yes,
so because he was the guy that like brought them the whole thing, showed them everything, but he was going like, listen, I love David in this story so much.
Mm-hmm. There's more reasons too. You'll find out later.
Yeah. But anyway,
we'll get to it. So they raided his shit and they found bomb making materials, a live bomb ready for mailing.
Yeah.
The original manuscript of the manifesto. 40,000 pages of journals recording his daily life, his bombing campaign, and his anger at society.
Which seems like such like a Seven influence, doesn't it?
Well,
of course. I mean,
journaling is
and
good
if David Fincher wrote it, that'd be like fucking dildos hanging.
But a guy alone writing that much.
But he had been there.
He had been there a long
typical
time.
Of lone crazy people. Like that's. Also people. So, what else do you do when you have no? People write journals.
Only you will understand this, Paige.
I mean, how many days had he been there?
A number.
No, he's probably got a count.
Court-appointed lawyers said that your best chance of avoiding the death penalty was to plead not guilty by reason of insanity. He said, "Fuck that! I'm not insane. I don't want to be called mentally ill." So he pleaded guilty rather than plead insanity. He tried to like change lawyers. There was some drama with the lawyers and stuff like that. But in 1988, he was convicted, and I think he initially received 4 life sentences, but he got 8. He's serving 8 consecutive life sentences.
That's tough. So when he dies, they keep the corpse there.
Oh yeah.
But they also like there was a thing where like David was like, dude, no death penalty.
Right. He currently serves on with Gary Wright, the guy who he bombed. They're best friends.
David
became best friends with one of Ted's victims, and they both serve on an anti-death penalty.
Yeah, David.
Panel.
Wait, David did.
David did.
Yes, David, his
Okay,
brother.
yes.
David is best friends with one of the guys Ted bombed.
Yeah, and that even
David does seem like a good guy.
that even was happening
Wow.
like during the trial.
He used the reward money
And
and
so-
gave it to the victims.
Yes, I remember hearing about that.
Wright came out and was like, "Yeah, I'm still against this, even being a victim."
Yeah.
And David and him remain entirely close friends.
Yeah.
That's really good.
And I think there was something where like David was like, no, like just no death penalty, don't kill my brother, and like it was like in jeopardy for a minute with the government, and David was really mad, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, they kind of like reneged on this thing," and
No, you don't say the U.S. government.
David and is it Gary, right?
I think it was Gary.
Gary,
They still serve
I
on
think
this
so.
anti-death penalty
Uh-huh.
thing, and
Yeah.
like I mean, it is really like again, like I said, like the inspiring story out of this whole thing is David for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is a thing of like, what Ted could have done with
Yeah, dude. I mean,
good intentions and
how
like
many?
a
How many?
better upbringing. I'm not blaming him alone.
Yeah, and in the grand scheme of things, like, dude, there are a lot other people that deserve the death penalty, and I'm like 99% against the death penalty
No.
because we have an imperfect judicial system,
Incredibly so, yes.
like, incredibly imperfect.
Mhm.
I mean, if somebody killed one of you guys, I would want to go kill them myself. I
Yes.
think the state's responsible for enough murders as is.
Correct.
Yes.
So, but to my point about Ted is that like the guy only killed 3 people. Like there are so many other more vile people, vile criminals, vile murderers that one could argue are worthy of a death penalty
Right,
than Ted Kaczynski.
Right.
But the issue about Ted Kaczynski is that he was
A threat to power.
a threat
Yes.
to the system.
However, 3 human lives.
Are extinguished.
So it's, if you're going on it like on a pure like
Eye for an eye.
I think
Well, I disagree for an eye for an eye.
I do too. But however,
Yeah.
that's
The
not,
reason he
that's not-
received so much ire
It's-
from the state is because of what he stood for.
100%. I completely agree. But also, it's a thing where you can get like swept up with like his own bullshit propaganda and forget that like 3 people did not need to die.
Right.
It was a brat attack. He was having a tantrum.
He was. I mean,
Yes.
but also, fuck, man, how many. If you wanted to look at it if you wanted to frame him as a failed revolutionary,
Uh-huh.
how many revolutionaries murder people all the time?
For sure. Yeah.
And the problem is that he failed.
Right. And a lot of it also had to do with
You know
him,
how many people Luke Skywalker killed?
but a lot of it has to do with him not getting laid too. You know what
Do you
I'm
know how
saying?
many people Luke Skywalker
Sure.
killed?
But I think
Huh?
I think this is not worth our time to
Talk
argue
about
the
right
death
now.
penalty.
Yes, and it's
I
not
think- I
worth
think-
about talking about that right now. Let's finish this story
Yes.
because we probably should have a discussion section on it.
Well, I will do it on Patreon.
So he
And there's a lot to unpack.
there's a lot. At one point, a psychologist kind of proto-diagnosed him with paranoid schizophrenia, but never officially so. He does not have schizophrenia. He's not medicated or treated for
No.
schizophrenia in prison.
No.
He was sent to Florence Supermax prison, where he became friends with Timothy McVeigh,
And
not Rami, the guy, the world, Yusuf,
yes.
the guy who bombed the World
Might
Trade
be
Center the
his
first time.
And Yusuf actually might have served as inspiration for him to get back in after the 6-year hiatus. They think.
Get back into after
into
after
terrorism.
93 bombing, he said,
Yeah.
hey,
Oh
maybe there's
yeah,
something to
I
do.
meant to ask about what the catalyst.
I had
Yeah.
heard that he was like, okay.
Yeah, maybe. Because there was the
And-
WTO riots happened in Seattle. Like there
No,
was.
that was way later. That was like 99 or
Really?
something.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, in that period of the 90s,
Mm-hmm.
there was so much upheaval and people just being so
Yeah.
discontent with how things were going. Meanwhile,
Little did they know.
not a few years later.
It
But,
only gets worse, Daddy.
Hey, stay tuned. So, Timothy McVeigh would then be later executed. But they were all like pals with each other.
They had exercise thing in like their own kind of like cages, and so they're not together, but they can talk.
Yeah,
and
which you wish you could have a podcast.
And oh, dude, I mean that is the podcast to end all podcasts.
Yeah, I mean because there'd be times where you're like, oh, hey, good point, nice. And you're like, man, fuck you.
And they would talk about religion, they would talk about politics.
And they were all different. Because Yusuf was Muslim, McVeigh was like white nationalist Christian, and most certainly Kaczynski was atheist.
Yeah.
And they all had,
one thing I know.
The Venn diagram of those guys would have been very interesting.
Because they were alone,
alone
together, there was some affinity, and it almost seems to me, because people will write Ted Kaczynski all day.
So yeah, Ted Kaczynski now is more social than ever. He has thousands of pen pals across the country with handwritten letters.
And it's like it's a thing where, like, ironically, again,
he's probably more well adjusted than ever.
Do you like?
The irony of his fear of confinement and obedience.
He was trolling violently.
Yeah.
And then he got the attention, and now he's good. It's like Sarah Silverman implicating that one guy that's like saying these terrible things. She's like, hey, what's wrong with you? And he's like, oh, I actually have like addiction.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of thing. And also,
I think he wanted attention for his cause, not for himself. And then that's not I'm not saying it's a noble.
Oh no, I think definitely part of it was I need to be seen.
But when he got seen, he hit for 6 years.
No. But once it was once the gambit was up,
he'd come to terms.
It was a thing of like, does anybody know who I am? And it's like, oh, it turns out everybody knows who I am.
I don't think it's a know who I am thing. Now here's the thing: you can get the manifesto on Amazon.
Sure,
that's what's important to him. That manifesto is out there. It sells all the time.
Sure.
And it gets truer and truer as time goes by.
Yes, but that's also feeding into ego.
I mean, with everybody, ego is a factor, of course.
Yes.
I just don't think that's the issue for him.
I think it is. I think he does. There's no way, Aaron, this guy is not going to prey on some kind of the people that like tonight's Doctrine in jail. The people that are going like, oh, I understand you. You're a loner weirdo like me. There's no way he's not feeling that love for the first time in his life ever.
I suppose it's part of it, but I don't think that was
that's true.
I don't think that was the reason.
I know you don't think it's the reason, but I kind of do.
I think for any human being, especially one who lacked human contact for all of his life,
being understood is very important.
Yeah, of course. I think that's especially for somebody who was never ever understood because he was always leaps and bounds above everybody.
Yes.
So I think that as time goes by and more of the things that he said would happen are happening, I think there's a vindication that probably feels good.
Yeah.
But
another thing I just want to say real quick is one of the tidbits because I'm so fascinated when like worlds collide in that kind of crazy way of the three most famous terrorists of the 90s hanging out in a yard together.
Yeah, that definitely sounds
that to me
very
is, that's like I get really like, okay, that's the show. I'm like, what is that?
Yeah, where's the reality?
So one of the things I heard was that they of course were polite to each other and like it just showed affection to each other in some kind of polite way. And they would either have like people that mailed them send each other things.
Yeah, because they were not allowed to communicate with each other directly.
Yeah.
So they would communicate by proxy with other
So somebody
that's very interesting.
Somebody McVeigh corresponded with was like, send Kaczynski into the wild.
Yeah.
And Kaczynski was like
Krakauer, right?
very much, Krakauer. He's very much like, uppity about books.
Yeah.
And he liked it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was like a thing of
Send
like
him a DVD of The Matrix.
he's like he'll get this and dig it, you know.
It is kind of fucked up, though. It's like, yeah, these guys are all not good people, but like, what are they going to do in a Supermax prison? If they are a danger to the Supermax prison by talking to each other, that's the Supermax prison's fault. That's not their fault.
At that point, it's just punitive,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They're not going to,
I agree.
and that's the problem with a lot of.
but
I don't want to say just our prison system.
Sure.
I think that's a problem with a lot of our politics. Is just the fetish of punishment, and that's a conversation for another time.
Yeah.
And it's not reform, right?
Right.
So, for a while, his cabin was recreated, like piece by piece, recreated in the museum, and it's like shit. This is fucking the size of his solitary confinement cell. He's since been moved to another prison for health reasons. He's not at Florence ADX in Colorado anymore. I think he's somewhere in North Carolina.
No. He also did express in his time there, he was like, and if the cabin was like that, it might have saved us all a lot of trouble.
If what?
If the cabin was like this, he was like, it's quiet.
Yeah, it's quiet here.
He's like,
Yeah,
he's like, I just need something to read and the quiet. And
So,
he's like,
so his entire fear of the whole complex and obedience and structure
confinement.
and confinement,
Right.
he got what he wanted.
Yeah.
It's really if they wanted to. I guess if they really wanted to punish him, they threw him in the gen pop.
Yeah.
Now here you want to talk about some weird shit?
The Harvard 50-year reunion.
No,
Can I talk about that?
you can, but let me throw this theory at you.
Sure.
So we said he was fucked from birth. He didn't have, his mother to nuzzle upon, right? And the physical touch that we said is so paramount as an infant. And then he's like, I'm so afraid of being confined and alone and separated. And then ultimately, everything he did led him there. So he goes, was confinement and solitude, was that actually...
The point was that
Was it actually the mother he was going back to?
He's been a bad boy.
He was going back to the womb.
Yeah.
It's just me in here, man.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's something we could unpack about, and if Freud was here, he'd have something to say about it.
Oh, yes.
I'd love to talk about it more. Let's wrap it up on a couple things.
Okay.
In a blunder by Harvard
Amazing.
for their
Incredible.
their 50-year reunion for his class, they sent him
To the Supermax.
to the Supermax prison. He got the letter because they want to keep tabs on all the graduates,
Of course, yeah. Well, they might.
and he responded.
They might donate something.
He responded, occupation, prisoner, awards, 8 life sentences
Wow. Not exactly Mickey Mantle.
Huge
talking about a
blunder
blowjob, but yeah.
by Harvard. I found this out today that his code name during that Harvard study, because they gave all the students code names to remain anonymous.
I think I know this. What is it?
Lawful.
Yes, that's right.
Isn't that
Yes.
crazy? And then, so I also read this article. It was in the Atlantic in 2000. I forget the guy's name, but whatever. Who cares? You can look it up. I think the article is called Harvard and the Creation of the Unabomber or something. And the guy had been trying to talk to Ted, be a correspondent for a while, and they eventually got him to write back. And in September 98, Ted wrote back to this guy. And it's just, it's very prescient, I think. And it's not mind-blowing, but he wrote, I suspect that you underestimate the strength and depth of feeling against industrial civilization that has been developing in recent years. I've been surprised at some of the things that people have written to me. It looks to me as if our society is moving into a pre-revolutionary situation. By that I don't mean a situation in which revolution is inevitable, but one in which it is a realistic probability or possibility. The majority of people are pessimistic or cynical about existing institutions. There is widespread alienation and directionlessness amongst young people. Perhaps all that is needed is to give these forces an appropriate organization and direction.
And that's why I joined the Green Party. Yeah. No. He's right. But also he probably doesn't get a lot of letters from people who go, "I love technology."
Oh, dude, you got to read the Amazon reviews on the manifesto.
Yeah.
Read the Amazon reviews. Some
It's
people
great.
are like, I ordered this from Amazon for my iPhone.
Yeah.
And I read it on my Kindle. Like,
Yeah,
there are people who
right.
are very, very funny. It's really good. Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, very interesting character, comic book villain, but one, a good one that you can empathize with a bit, and you can sympathize for how he got that
And
way.
you can criticize
and you can
quite a
criticize
bit.
endlessly,
Yes.
especially his bomb making ability.
Oh, particularly
Lackluster at best.
particularly
definitely
his
not a genius bomb maker.
his petty grievances.
Yeah, the petty.
Where it's people that have the audacity not to fuck them and stuff like that. It's like, dude, get a fucking job,
yeah,
man.
leave that out.
Yeah. what do you
Yeah.
mean?
Like, if you're him, if I'm Ted K,
Yeah.
I'm not mentioning the times I didn't get laid.
Yeah.
Oh no, but we know it from his life.
Right, but like, I'm also like,
Are you saying that's in the manifesto? 'Cause
no, but it's in the letters to his brother and shit. Like, dude, just don't leave it. Let go. Like, let it be in your subconscious. But like,
But it's a thing where, like we're
right,
both
right.
saying, like it probably led,
it's like when
it led to a lot of
when Dorner wrote his little manifesto before he murked all the cops and some innocent people. One, you killed innocent people, which is bad. And then you like started talking about Louis C.K. and stuff, and you're like, leave that out of the manifesto. Just talk about how corrupt the cops are.
Well, every manifesto needs an editor.
That's right.
yeah,
And the
yeah.
problem with the people is that the people who write manifestos don't have any friends to pass their manifesto.
or they
on
just
to.
don't want notes.
Or people are like, oh, let him say shit about things that make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we can say they're all crazy too.
Yeah.
Right.
You
That's
know?
it. Is that you pick on you point out the errors and then you say it's all crazy.
You're like, oh, you sound like Ted K. And you're like, oh, but it's a thing where you and I.
Yeah. Charles Manson had good points too about the environment.
We were saying
And bad music.
Charles Manson was making good points about this like cycle of incarceration and stuff like that. And then he goes off on like some wild thing about a race
war and
you're going like, of course no.
Right.
but
like,
please no.
A friend of
It's
ours,
not so of course anymore.
a friend of ours was like, oh, I don't want to hear that. Charles Manson had some good points, and you're like, but he did.
Yeah. Doesn't mean
Like, it doesn't mean he's not batshit crazy, and like
Right.
the other things he said were abhorrent. Like, but like,
a blind squirrel finds a nut from time to time.
and not only that, it's
Or
just
Jack
it's
Stone.
it's a thing of like. Maybe we make these people crazier by denying that they have anything good to say at all.
Yeah, there's definitely some of that.
Like,
Yeah.
we don't want to do that either.
Right.
We want to tell them when you're right, you're right.
Yeah.
But also that other shit,
It's fucked up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Combing a dog with a turd
Is wrong.
is not.
No, even if the dog wants it.
And the dog,
Sometimes they eat
the dog
shit.
does.
Yeah,
the dog does. Like, what is that turd?
Yeah, I fucking love this.
John, thank you for
Great job, boys. Great job.
The
Both of
alley-oops
you.
here.
Yes,
on that.
yes.
It was really great. Maybe we'll talk about maybe we should just do it
We'll do a Patreon.
the merits of Ted K on Patreon.
We will not say their
We should watch the movie with Charlton Copley.
Who?
Charlton Copley, the guy from from District 9.
Oh,
Really?
okay, cool.
He plays Ted K in the movie.
That's
Oh, I
fine.
didn't know.
It came and went, but
Same.
they praise his performance. He's good in everything.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
We also talked about on Patreon maybe doing the Norm special when it comes.
Oh, we got
Yeah, we gotta do that.
amazing.
We gotta do it.
All right, Aaron, fantastic job.
Thank you.
You did all the driving here. I really appreciate it.
And I'm a B- driver.
B plus, you said.
Just B now. Just B.
It's just
I'm gonna say goodnight. My name is John Fahey.
I'm Aaron Pita.
Matt Perso.
Good night, everybody. We love you.
Good night.
Starburns Audio.